Well, hello, good evening, everybody. It's me, Ryan Burns, and I am here with my good friend Nicky Broughton. Hello, Nicky. You live in Elsinore, actually, right?
Yep, I'm reporting to you live right now from Lake Elsinore, California, home of the Lake Elsinore Ghost.
The ghost. The ghost that we can never figure out. It's funny. I did a whole video on the ghost, and I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. Nope, I still don't know. I don't. Doesn't none of it makes sense. I'm like, is Cameron? I don't think he made it up, but like, I don't. At the same time, I don't think it's Cooper, but I don't know. I don't think he was. Here's the thing about the Elsinore Ghost is like, people say, oh, well, he was making it up to benefit him. Well, he couldn't talk. He couldn't talk about it because the FBI. I mean, you can't like disclose things that you talk to the FBI about in his magazine. So I don't think he did. And I remember I looked in that Skydive magazine, and he never wrote about it. So
yeah, and the only reason I figured out it was Lyle Cameron is because his best friend told me that he told him that he reported to the FBI. So he's also not just lying to the FBI. He's lying to one of his really good friends for whatever reason.
Yeah, so I think it happened, but I don't think it was Cooper though. But anyway, okay, so let's give some shout outs. Hello to Big Ed. Big Ed Tinsley's here. You're being rude.
The big
Joshua Bernstein.
Man.
Josh Bernstein. Hello,
that,
counselor.
Boy.
Yes. Hello, counselor to Mr. Bernstein. Hello to Mary Johns. Hello to Olivia. How are you, dear? Let's see. Oracle's here. Everybody's here. All right.
Yep, I saw Landy in here too. Our favorite school teacher. What's up, Landy?
Landy's there. Hello, Landy. Chris. Uncle Winston is here. Everybody's going to be here. All right. So what we're doing today is if you're new to our game here, there's Chris Brower. Hello, Bloodhound.
Bloodhound.
We've got basically, this is called Suspect Roulette. Just a little fun game we play where essentially I have my little Northwest Orient bag here, and it's full of names. And I draw out the name of a named suspect, and we go back and forth deciding who. One of us has to argue in favor of the suspect, and one of us has to argue against the suspect. Just kind of a fun game we do, just a little lighthearted stuff. So right now,
did your bag shrink, Ryan?
What's that?
Did your bag shrink? I remember the first time you did this with Marty, you had like a bigger Northwest Orient bag.
Yeah, no, I have a bigger bag up there.
Oh, okay.
I've got this is just the smaller one. This is like the kids version. This is this is the one that comes with the kids meal or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the toy, it has the toy in it. I mean, get your Happy Meal. You get this bag here. Anyway, cool. All right. So what we're going to do is, let's see what we're going to do. I don't have a coin with me. I don't even have any change with me. I don't know how we're going to flip a coin. I do have a coin, actually. So we're going to flip a coin, and whoever wins the coin toss gets to defend. Okay. So okay. All right. So heads or tails, Nicky?
Tails never fails.
All right. It failed now. So you have to attack first. So, all right. So all right. So we're going to start here. You attack. Let's see. You attack. Joe Lakich.
Joe Lakich. All right. So, Joe, let's see. He came about through Bill Rawlins. I don't know what really. I guess his rhyme or reason. He felt really connected to DB Cooper having some this like deep grudge kind of thing. And I guess he was doing some research into like who would, have a reason to have a grudge. And, he came upon Joe Lakich, kind of after vetting it out, the grudge thing, doesn't really make sense. Why are you, like your daughter just got killed, in this incident, like the grudge thing just doesn't really feel like why would he harm these people? Like, I don't understand how that's getting any kind of justice for his daughter or anything like that. So, I understand Bill stinking with the grudge, but it just doesn't really check out for me. He made a little bit of a tangential connection to the tie particles, which, I very, that very, very tenuous at best. Still don't really think he has any kind of connection to a good connection to the whole array we're seeing right now on the tie. It just doesn't seem. It doesn't seem, his personality doesn't seem fit. Like I said, he was going through a lot at the time, and I think that would have been the farthest thing from his mind. As far as physical looks, I mean, he's all right, I guess. I don't know how swarthy. If you just might just more regular white dude. So I don't really see where the ethnicity is there. But yeah, that's he's yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna have to say yeah on Lakich too. Okay. So I have to defend the guy. Okay. Well, his hair is parted on the right side, on the proper side, I guess. He's got a pointed chin. He's a man. He's middle-aged. Well, okay. Lakich was a military officer, and a military officer would have the mindset to be able to do this probably, and the training to keep himself calm. He was a career military man. He retired military. He was in World War II and then Korea. So he's been around combat. He's a combat veteran, and he was distressed. His daughter had been killed in I think they call it November 58 incident. I think that's what they call it. And where essentially his son-in-law killed his daughter and left him with a 1-year-old grandchild that he raised on his own. So he could have been possibly psychologically impacted by that to a large degree. And yeah, it's hard to defend him really, because I really have a strong problem with his motive, just to be honest. I don't see how a man who lost a daughter in a hijacking would then go commit a hijacking and threaten other men's daughters. Like, that doesn't make much sense to me. And then like the vengeance against the FBI. Well, you're extorting money from an airline, not vengeance against the FBI.
How is that hurting the FBI? Now I understand if it was, maybe someone did some kind of a bomb threat at an FBI headquarters or something like that, bomb scare or something. Maybe I could see it more for Lakich possibly, with his connection to electronics and stuff like that. But like I said, putting other people's, doing that to other people's daughters, what was just done to his daughter, it just, I don't know, doesn't compute for me.
I agree with you on that. So anywho, all right. Well, okay. So it's, now it's my turn to attack, and go ahead.
Should we announce what we do? I came up with the idea to throw in one Uno reverse card.
Oh, yes.
Yes. We each have one Uno reverse card to kind of make things a little bit funner. So if we get someone we don't want to defend or we want to attack, we can use our Uno reverse card, and we can flip it.
Perfect. All right. So I have to attack. Oh, this is like a layup. This is Michael Jordan playing against a third grade basketball team in 1995. I get to attack Richard McCoy. So that's almost cheating, isn't it? Well, okay, folks, McCoy is really simple, really. I would say, honestly, the main thing, and I mean, other than the witnesses all saying it's not him, if we're going to get rid of the eyewitnesses saying that it was all him, I would say that the main thing about McCoy is the man had a speech impediment. Like, he couldn't talk properly. He had a birth defect that gave him a lisp, and he had a high-pitched voice. So he had this kind of really unique voice, and he wasn't able to speak without, and he also had a Southern accent like I do. So he had a Southern accent, he had a lisp, and he had a high-pitched voice. In fact, as I've said many times, during his own hijacking, his pilots told the FBI after they landed, "We think the hijacker was doing something to disguise his voice," when they talked to him on the phone. But that's just how he talked. Okay. So now Cooper, we have speaking low, intelligently, clearly with no accent. In fact, Dennis Lisney, the ticket agent who sold him a ticket, told the paper the next day, Cooper had a pleasant voice, which don't know what that means, but obviously if you have a lisp, and if you talk, I mean, Tina talked to the guy, Tina had conversations with Cooper. Okay. She would know that if he had a lisp, that an obvious thing like that. McCoy also had blue eyes. He wore makeup, and there's no indication Cooper was wearing makeup at all. He was acting really nervous on his hijacking. If yet you're not nervous on your first crime, but you're really nervous on your second crime, that doesn't add up. He made no attempt to keep the passengers in the dark. You would think, here's the thing, the copycats had an idea of what Cooper did, but not the details. I mean, the papers weren't that detailed. So like none of them were able to really, if they for example, if the copycats had the 302s or something like that, then they could pull off a Cooper hijacking identical, and they would, because that's the best way to do it. Keep the passengers unaware, pass notes, don't be flashy, sit in the back. You know, there are ways to do it, and none of them did it. None of the copycats, except for a guy named Billy Hurst, kept the passengers in the dark. None of them didn't even try. Okay, so that's a big detail. Also, we have gas receipts of him the next day in Provo, Utah. Okay, like literally the next day, like the morning after the jump, which is just really almost impossible by a time stamp. We have witnesses to him. He invited people to be at his home for Thanksgiving. He had an exchange student there. We have a woman in the FBI files who McCoy drove home after Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving lunch. So he was there that morning. And again, he never admitted to being the hijacker. He never said he was Cooper, never even intimated he was Cooper. When actually it would have benefited him to admit to being Cooper, because in the federal court system, if he had said, I also did the Cooper hijacking, he could have leveraged that into less jail time, because he's saving the FBI time and resources, all this other stuff, right? So honestly, even though it sounds counterproductive to think admitting to an additional crime you would think that's going to hurt you to admit to an additional crime, but honestly, it doesn't. It would actually help if he had admitted to being Cooper.
Rackstraw thought it did. It would have.
Yeah. In fact, Rackstraw tried to leverage phony Cooper into getting him less jail time if he was going to be convicted of this murder thing, right? Yeah. But I think once he was acquitted, he quit saying that. He didn't do that anymore.
Yeah, because it didn't serve him anymore.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, with Rackstraw, they wanted his palm prints really badly during the trial. And he was like, I'm not doing it. He was being really coy about it. And they were even like, they even sent a memo to the Attorney General's office saying, can we like hold him down and force him to give us a palm print? And before the Attorney General could give an opinion on it, the trial, he won his trial. And lo and behold, he's arrested like 2 weeks later for like stealing a plane or something stupid like that. And he gladly gives his palm prints because he doesn't need to like pretend anymore that he's Cooper. So there's that. So, okay. But yeah, McCoy, it's all bogus. It's all, I mean, it's just, we've been over it before. I've got it on my channel. McCoy is a horrid suspect. And mainly all 10 eyewitnesses, or 9 of them at least, none of them said he was the guy. And all of them said no. So try to defend McCoy. That's going to be kind of hard.
I mean, he's got the background everyone's looking for, right? Military, Green Beret, the parachuting experience, yada, yada, yada. So, he, as far as capability, he meets that threshold. As far as anything else, let's see. I don't know. Maybe he had a doppelganger or somebody he was able to use in Provo to make people think that he was there, and that can explain all of the all the reports in the FBI file and everything like that. If he was able to, somehow have somebody walking around Provo and being in his house and doing all of that. And, was able to find someone that looked just like him. Then, McCoy's still in play.
McCoy's still in play. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, it's almost like unfair to do McCoy because it's like literally, it's funny. It's like I was trying to explain to people who don't know. Like it is not hyperbole to say that if you could somehow have God powers and take the 200 people who know the Cooper case best. And look, one of those 200 is not Dan Greider, by the way, because he does not know this case for shit. I mean, he thinks Cooper jumped with a leather bag. And that, I mean, he said in one of his videos that the hijacking was on a Friday. It's like, just like he doesn't know the case because honestly, if he did,
Greider was in the drop. I know Greider was in like the drop zone early on back in the day. But that was before Larry was there. That was before we had FBI files. That was before we knew very little about the case. And, we were taking things that were said in Leonard Nimoy's doc and, just different publications that was all, a lot of misinformation. And we were everyone was kind of working with that back then. So Greider kind of spent some time back in that era, but that's why he doesn't know the case. Like in the modern times, he hasn't really spent any time, trying to learn the case now that we got FBI files since Larry Carr came around and all of that stuff.
Right. And just look at McCoy anyway. There he is, Dumbo ears. But like, I mean, the thing is about McCoy, he looked old to us, but to them back then, all of his eyewitnesses said he looked like he was in his 20s, late 20s. Like I think the oldest McCoy eyewitness description in his 302s is like 30. So, Cooper again had old man mouth, the wrinkles around his mouth, Alice Hancock said. And again, so much of your age is in how you, it's your countenance, I would say. It's not just in your looks, it's how you behave. And, the stewardesses knew they were dealing with somebody of their father's generation. I mean, I would, let's just say you're in college, you're flying somewhere when you're in college, when you're 22 years old, like Tina was, let's just say, if you're sitting, you'll know if you're sitting next to somebody talking to somebody who is like your dad's age or if they're more close to your age. It's not even like debatable. I mean, who's going to be that far off? So it's more than just your look. It's how you talk to people, even.
Absolutely.
Words you use and just your bearing.
Yeah.
It's
and,
not,
this, and this case is unique in that way where Cooper had enough interactions, with Tina, especially. Not like it was a quick bank robbery or something. Like there was enough interaction there that Tina was able to, use that, into her estimation for how old Cooper was, so it just wasn't just based on, sizing him up with his eyes and coming up with a number, she was able to gauge his maturity by how he carried himself, the words he used and everything like that. So yeah, I think that's very important to note.
Sure. And also, I guess to finish my point is I was saying that if you could have God powers and take the 200 people who know this case the best, literally none of them would say it was McCoy.
I mean McCoy's
zero.
Yeah, he's McCoy's is scratched off the list. Like he's 100%. Like scratched off,
If you know this case, you know that McCoy didn't do it.
Yeah, FBI did a hell of a job.
They tried
a hell of a job in.
They tried.
They did a hell of a job, and I think they confirmed without a shadow of a doubt McCoy was in Provo. There's no way with the timeline that he could have been Cooper. Like I said, unless he had some kind of, unless he got real creative and, he found a guy that looked just like him. And, that's the kind of only thing.
I guess that's the Don Burnworth thing. Remember Don Burnworth was like accused his wife of hiring a lookalike to pull off the hijacking. he was like, oh, she, because look, I mean, Burnworth looks about as close as you could get to the Bing sketch as a human could be, and he was like, oh shit, my wife, his wife was like connected with the mob, right? And they were going through a divorce. He's like, my wife hired a lookalike to do this, to do the hijacking. It's not me, I promise. So Anyway, all right. Enough of McCoy. Hopefully we can get some real suspects here. All right. So
Let's get the crap out of the way.
Your turn to attack. Fred Catalano.
Fred. Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
So attack Fred. Let's see. So Fred's beak, first of all, I don't know how that can how that would have made it into sketch A, right? It just seems like he has a bigger nose, and then yes, we got the nose is a little bit different on sketch B, but again, I think that beak stands out pretty good there.
It is a rather prominent nose. You're right.
Yeah, and in that last picture right there on that side view, there's no I don't see any protruding lower lip action there. His lip seems to kind of curl up, which is I think that's one of the features I think we can take to the bank with Cooper. One of the very few ones is he does have a protruding lower lip. His lip kind of went more drooped down, right? And we had Hal Williams saying he kind of had a disinterested look, right, to him, which that kind of fits. I think what Cord Harm's Spreckle also noted he kind of had this.
Let's get this over with.
Let's get this over with kind of look. Facially, I don't really see any of the features they're popping out that I think you kind of gotta have, especially with the protruding lower lip. He might have been, Catalano. He's got Italian roots. So I'm not, I'm not defending him, but I guess maybe he would have a little bit of that some ancestry, some olive tone there. But yeah, it's that's the only thing I can give him physically. He doesn't seem to really, black eye, dark hair, I guess. But yeah, it's what else as far as Catalano, the FBI vetted him pretty well. There's not that much info out there on him. I don't know if anyone's dug up anything more lately on him.
There's not a lot.
There's just not that much info on him.
Not yet. His file hasn't come out yet.
His file hasn't come out yet. So I think the FBI probably did. I think the FBI did a great job on anyone that came. They got in as a tip. I think they did a good job of vetting these guys. So anyone that the FBI, looked at, I'm going to give them a little credit here. I think that lowers their chances. Not saying they can't be Cooper. Someone could have slipped through the cracks, but I think anyone that the FBI looked at, I think that lowers their chances of being DB Cooper, because they're pretty good at finding out stuff. If there's any kind of a leak somewhere they could have found it, put the crime on him. But yeah, I would say the FBI looked at him and they couldn't put him on the plane. Said
okay, well, all right. Well, so Fred is important to point out that Fred is actually one of the only suspects who was never eliminated. They never eliminated Freddie Catalano. They never got his DNA. He was unlike Kenny Christensen, who hijacked his own airline. He also was a flight attendant. So Catalano was an unemployed pilot, essentially. He had trained to fly 727s for TWA, I believe, and somehow became a purser instead because there was a backlog of pilots or something strange like that. So he was on a waiting list essentially to become a pilot trainer or something. He had pilot training with 727s.
With 727s? I think just specifically with TWA, right?
I don't recall. Yeah, it was with TWA, but obviously he didn't hijack his own airline, is what I'm saying. He hijacked another airline. And we do know now that he was, for some reason, living in Eugene, Oregon at the time of the hijacking, even though he was based out of LA. So what was he doing there in Eugene? I would say that Catalano is one of the only suspects who got a maybe from a few eyewitnesses. Okay. I know Robert Gregory at least said maybe. He said, I can't rule him out. Now, the photo that we have that I've shown, I have FOIA'd for the photo that they were showing of Catalano when he's younger. Those photos are when he's older. Okay, so I don't know what photo they saw when he was younger. Maybe I don't know what it was, but they liked his look. At least I would say that, yeah, he was Italian, so he's dark. Basically, the airline turned him in. So like when your own employer turns you in, like they sent out flyers to all the airlines and said, hey, if you have any troubled employees or former employees who you think might do this, let us know. And that's how they came across Catalano, his own employer.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't fire him, but I mean, it's like they don't dislike you enough to fire you, but they're going to turn him in for a capital crime. But his own airline turned him in. Let's see, what else about him? But yeah, he was a pilot. He wasn't eliminated. We know that he had Brower found something. Remember, Brower found just like last week that Catalano was selling something out of Guam, like in 71.
That's right. Yes,
and
selling something out of Guam, and I think he did find his pilot's license. So he did get his pilot's license. Yeah,
yeah, and he was selling stuff out of Guam in like 71 or 72. And all I'm thinking is like, is this a money laundering scam or something? Like, what would and it had his Oregon address. So it was like, what in the world? It was an advertisement like, oh, buy. I forget what they were buying. What it was for source. He was a shady individual, and he was known as a rebel. They didn't like him. He was always getting in trouble with the airline, and the FBI to defend him. Him and Jason Langseth were not ruled out by the FBI ever. So Catalano is still he is still an open suspect with the FBI, and there's basically none of those guys. So that's how I'd defend him. But yeah, I would say though that his hair, I know that this photo here, and just so once we're done attacking and defending, we can discuss these people neutrally. His hair though, look at that. He's got a lot of hair. This picture is from like 76.
Okay.
It's a lot of hair. Like he didn't fly to Turkey to get hair plugs. So like, that is a lot of hair for somebody who supposedly had a receding hairline.
I was going to bring that up too. I didn't know what year that picture was. And how old was he in 71 again?
38.
Okay.
So he was
he's like right at the cut, kind of right at the cusp there. And Mary John says he was selling water purifiers out of Guam. It was like, okay. Let's see. And yeah, Mary points out, couldn't he be a potential person of interest for the TWA bomb threat case? Yeah, that's a good thought too. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. So for those who don't know, watch my video about the TWA case, a still unsolved case where a bomb went off. A guy planted several bombs in planes that were real bombs. Like these weren't threats. He actually put real bombs on there. And it was a TWA, somebody who knew TWA procedures, right? So they genuinely thought it could have been a TWA employee. And then they still have never uncovered who it was. Would Catalano have any kind of background though, where he could make actually
explosives? He was in the Army. I don't know what he did in the Army, but he was in the Army. He was in the Army in the 50s. So I don't know what his MOS. I don't know what he actually did in the Army.
Gotcha.
I think all I know is that he was in the infantry. So that's pretty much all I know about that. And I wish I could find that picture. But anyway,
yeah.
Okay.
The point about the hair real quick. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think that's, if he's got that much hair in 76, it's kind of hard to see, going to an extreme that Flo would have with that widow's peak. Like, I don't think Cooper was obviously bald or anything like that, or as extreme as the widow's peak showed in the Unsolved Mysteries sketch. But, given his age, what we know about his age and everything else like that, I don't think he had a nice, full, healthy head of hair. I think there was some recession going on with it. To what degree,
Yep. All right. So, all right. Let's see. All right. Who we got?
Yeah, amazing hair. Yeah.
All right. So I have to attack. Okay. Sheridan Peterson. All right. Petey. Okay. So Petey is, I find, quite simple to attack, honestly, because this is his passport photo from, I believe, the year of the hijacking. Let's see. And he's basically bald. Now, and the witnesses saw his photo and said it wasn't him. Okay. The eyewitnesses did see his photo. We have that in the FBI files from this past week and a little earlier. And they said they liked his wide forehead and they liked his lower lip. So
that's what stands out to me when I look at him.
Yeah. He has the thick ass lower lip, which is what Cooper had. And that, so Robert Gregory said he liked his look, but it wasn't him. And he was in Nepal at the time, almost like, I know that passport stamps and things aren't what they used to be, aren't what they are now, but they apparently had evidence that he was in Nepal. And look, Peterson was not a villainous type. I mean, the only arrest of his life, if you look up his arrest record, the only time Peterson was ever arrested for a crime was when he was arrested in Mississippi, of all places, for participating in a sit-in during the civil rights movement. So he was like down there fighting for justice and was arrested for being a civil rights activist. So like by a bunch of hillbillies, so he wasn't, it's like he said in one of his, videos, he goes, "I'm not a bad guy. Cooper was a bad guy." And like, I think he meant that. I don't think he was a criminal. He was a mischievous sort, but I don't think he was a criminal. But Peterson was also rather large. I believe he was like 6'2". I believe his, I may be misquoting, maybe forgetting it. There's a lot of information floating around, but I feel like his draft card says he was like 6'2" and 3/4 inches or something like that. He was a taller man. And, I feel like if you're 6'2", like there's no way anybody's going to think you're 5'10" or something. I think there can be too short to be Cooper, and there can also be too tall to be Cooper. That's a rather large individual. He was very bulky too. The pictures of him, he's rather a thick guy too. He was big and bulky when he was younger, but not villainous, but mainly just his physical profile he's bald, and he could have done it. I mean, no doubt about it. The guy was a master skydiver. He was in charge of Boeing's skydiving. He was the president of Boeing's skydiving club. But tie particles, if you want to go that route, I don't think he would have had. I mean, he was not on the floor of any sort of blue collar sort of thing. He was a copywriter, I guess they call him, that, like people who basically he wrote manuals for pilots and things. He wasn't actually a on the floor getting his hands dirty kind of guy, or even a supervisor of those people. So I don't think he doesn't make a lot of sense like that. And also, like I said, he wasn't even in the same hemisphere of the world, perhaps, at the time. So no. So what? Okay, defend him.
All right. Well, let's see. So you said you called Cooper. I wasn't Cooper. Cooper was a bad guy. That wasn't me. Well, for someone that's a bad guy, he sure kind of loved the idea of toying with the idea that he was. He's never. He's always kind of played around with it. With Mary Jean Fryer. He's on the History Channel. With his original champion Bob Salishaw, with Mark Meltzler, who he spoke with. So he's never really he said that line, but he's never really shut it down. This is ridiculous. I wasn't Cooper or anything like that. He seemed to always got a kick out of the attention he got from people thinking he's Cooper. There's that. I think Mark recently made a post on the group that when he was just traveling recently, he ran into somebody that worked in the toupee, industry, right? As and automatically, his mind goes to Cooper as we do, right? And you ask him, like, if Cooper had if Cooper had a really good professionally done toupee, would the stewardesses be able to tell? And the response was like, like now they wouldn't be able to notice. Like a really good toupee, you can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a really good toupee on Sheridan Peterson, do a little photo, like if you Photoshop it, I think you'll look put a little good toupee on him. Then I think he'll look a lot better from the sketch, because I just looking at him, I think just the balding is really the only thing. Like I said, he's got the high wide forehead. Cheekbones pretty good, decently prominent there, and he's got the protruding lower lip. The nose it's got that straight dorsal. It's not too big, so. Yeah, as far as he never showed his passport, as far as I know, to confirm that he was in Nepal, or there was something not 100% with, I forgot the details, but there's something not 100% with the passport, or there was a missing something or other. So that hasn't been able to be confirmed 100%. Obviously, the parachuting experience, the familiarity with the Pacific Northwest. He's got that picture of him holding, wearing a suit, right? Wearing a suit and holding the Ashate case.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, as he worked at Boeing, which would have given him, I don't know about the tie particles, but it would have given him access to documentation, stuff like that. That could have told him that the 727 aft stairs could be opened in flight, that it could take off with the stair, possibly it could take off with the stairs down. So he's got a connection at Boeing that he could obtain some of that, kind of more technical inside information on Boeing aircraft. So yeah, that's kind of my defense there.
Well, let me try this. Let me try to upload something real quick for everybody. Let me see how this, huh?
I was just saying hi to Tina Mucklow.
Oh, right. Let me try to upload this and see if this can. I did this thing because I wanted to see if you take out if you don't look at his hair, I guess, if you just look head down.
Yeah, box him up.
I mean, it's okay, I guess. I would say he's probably more like he probably looks more like the Bing sketch maybe than the Comp B sketches.
Yeah, I think I would say so. I'd have to see it, but let's right.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll try that.
His eyes there on that one. I mean,
let's see how he looks with. Let's see how he compares to the Bing sketches. We'll try that real quick. Bear with me, folks. Let's try this in real time and see if Peterson compares favorably to Bing, and I bet he's going to compare favorably better than to the Comp B sketch. Let's try this. All right, and bear with me. Here we go. Uploading now. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's definitely better than the Comp B comparison, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would say that's he's more of a Bing guy than a Carey guy.
Yeah, I think he's got more resemblances to Sketch A, but I mean he's not horrible for Sketch B.
No,
but yeah.
He is a logical suspect. I mean, there's a reason why he was so early in the he was suspect number 112, which sounds like a lot, but it didn't take long to get to 112. He was already a suspect within like 2 weeks. So he was an early suspect.
And I haven't read the Idiots of a Frightful Laughter but I know people that have. Mark Meltzer, and he pointed out some very interesting parallels, so that the character in there, the Greco, the Roman, and and different parallels in that book to some circumstantial stuff, which
that's
a smart guy. If he finds the connections compelling, then I think it's a decent connection.
Yeah, and somebody's saying that he's not that he's very pale looking. Maybe so. Well, I think the main thing is, he had like, if you talk to somebody who knew him, like Mark Meltzer, he had really piercing blue eyes, like unforgettable blue eyes is what Mark, who knew him, said you would never forget Sheridan Peterson's eyes. They were like piercing.
Yeah, you didn't
blue
bring that
eyes
up in your attack, but I think that's another big, a big strike against Petey. If you got those bright blue eyes, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing Flo, even given the circumstances. Those bright blue eyes like that pop.
Well, and especially the thing about that is everybody agreed. I mean, literally, we have every single witness except for Bill Mitchell commenting on Cooper's skin tone. So obviously there was something there. He had something going on that was unique. And in fact, three eyewitnesses who interacted with him, not just saw him, that'd be Dennis Lisney, Alice Hancock, and Flo Schaffner, specifically used the word olive, which is that's not just saying you're dark. That isn't a specific color. Okay. So, olive skin and bright blue eyes is really striking because of the contrast.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
agreed.
I mean, some of you who are old enough will remember there's a National Geographic, probably the most famous National Geographic cover ever is the Afghan girl. Is a photograph of a girl from like Afghanistan from the 80s. And she's obviously dark skinned because she's Afghani, but she has these like really bright green eyes, I think, or maybe they're blue, but I think they're green. But like the contrast of her skin tone with light eyes is what makes the photo so, won all these prizes and things, because she just looks so, it's a contrast. And when you have dark skin, generally, you're going to have darker eyes. Just if you're Hispanic or Native American or whatever it is, the dark eyes come with that. So, yeah, somebody says, yes, these people know what I'm talking about on the National Geographic photo, but it's a contrast. So I think if Cooper had blue eyes, it would have been known. I think it would have been noticed, especially by Flo, who, I mean, that guy looked right at her and said, basically, I'm going to kill you, So I think Flo really got a good look at him. Okay, you have to attack Leigh Seller.
Leigh, okay. So kind of speaking on the eyes there, right away, what stands out to me, looking at Leigh, is just how long and kind of squinty his eyes are. Right? They're really just kind of long and squinty, and I guess that's part of his heritage. He was Eastern Asian background, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so those eyes to me, I just like I know he had his sunglasses on, pretty much from right after he passed the note to Flo. But Flo got a good look at him, didn't really note anything like that. I don't think the eyes resemble really sketch A or sketch B. Hal Williams, I know you got to think you can't trust the eyes. I understand, but I think you'll agree that Hal, paid some really good attention to Cooper. He was the first one to note the disinterested kind of look, on his face. So let's get this over with, or the blah, kind of look. And I think you got to look at someone's face and you got to see their eyes for that. So the fact that he didn't pick up on that when he's paying some pretty decent attention, it's a little bit hard for me to see how that wouldn't have been picked up on. He also looked at Cooper face to face, like he was watching him. Hal was watching him for a good minute when he was standing off to the side. I don't know when he picked up on the let's get this over with look that he had. If he was when he was looking a little bit from afar, or when he saw him when they came face to face. But Hal had a good 20 plus minutes there while he was waiting in the lobby. I paid pretty good attention to him, and that without his sunglasses, and I don't see that reflected. I don't see his eyes reflected in Flo's testimony. But besides, and that's really all can really hate on
I get
Leigh,
it.
honestly. Besides that, I think you
Yeah,
probably do some
I'll
good
defend him, I
points.
guess.
That'll fit some, a lot of what people are looking for in Cooper. So yeah.
I was gonna say Leigh really, and just I'll admit, I mean, from a physical standpoint, the eyes are really the main thing that are troubling. But he was 5'11". He was 5'11". He was a pilot. He was a pilot, 5'11", went missing, like it was never seen again earlier that year. Okay. He dropped his kids off at his mom's house or something like that in Seattle. He was Canadian. So he is a Canadian from British Columbia. So when we have this whole, I want American currency sort of thing, he's a guy who probably would say that, or could say that. He was a pilot who went missing. He was apparently on the run from people. He had debts that were like out of control. His daughter mentioned a time where somebody came to the front door and banged on it, and he ran out the back of the house and did not return for like 3 months. Just they didn't see him for 3 months. He was gone. He's ran off. So and then he was allegedly embezzling money from a company he worked for around that time. He opened up several fraudulent bank accounts to get money loaned to him from his relatives, using them as fake cosigners or something like this. He said he's the height. He obviously we've seen him. He's wearing little skinny ties. His family. He was a heavy smoker.
Long. Not clip on though. Long.
Not clip on in that picture, but not in that picture. Yeah. But he did have a printing press. He tried to have a magazine. Oh yeah, he lived in Vancouver, Washington in the early 60s. Also lived in Seattle. Okay, so we have the whole PNW up and down the coast sort of thing. And Canadian. Went missing. And there's other things too. Oh, yeah, he was very irresponsible with money. One time that apparently he had received some money or something, and his wife said, look, the kids need some winter clothes. And he went out and came back with golf clubs instead. They're like, what? You're supposed to go buy the kids coats. And I believe he went through 3 marriages. So he was an unreliable guy. I know one of his wives died, so that's not really his fault, but he had gone through 3 marriages. At the time of the hijacking, he was trying to raise on his own 2 kids because their mom died. He was trying to raise 2 of his teenage kids, a daughter and a son. And like I said, one day he drops them off at like his mom's house in Polsbo outside Seattle and is never seen again. And his daughter, I believe, has checked to see if he ever claimed his Veterans Affairs stuff from Canada and never did. So he either went off and killed himself or died somehow. He had mental problems. During the war, he was discharged. He was a bomber pilot in World War II and flew a whole bunch of missions as a Lancaster bomber pilot for the Canadian Air Force over Germany and France, and was discharged for like sinus infection or something. Like it was very like his discharge is very like something you would not be discharged for, essentially. And I do know that during World War II, they were often very coy about PTSD discharges. They would blame it on something else to try to they didn't want to embarrass you. So they would say it was something else to keep you from shame, to keep you, because they had, for example, if you were a good soldier, they didn't want to discharge you and have you lose your benefits by dishonorably discharging you for losing your mind or whatever. Because you did your service. They don't want to deny you your benefits by discharging you dishonorably. So they would invent some reason to, like I know that if you've ever watched Band of Brothers, people, Buck Compton, who later prosecuted Sirhan Sirhan for killing Bobby Kennedy. Buck Compton was a lieutenant in Easy Company, 101st Airborne. He was a super soldier. Okay, he was as bad as it gets. And one day he saw his 2 best friends have their legs blown off right in front of him, and he snapped. And he was, and I forget I think they said he had I forget the actual condition, but it was like frostbite or something. It was something very not really would have gotten you off the front line, but he was discharged for that, and because they didn't want to say that he had PTSD. So Leigh Seller had some kind of PTSD from World War II, mental illness. So he had mental illness. He could never keep a job. His daughter said he had delusions of grandeur constantly. He thought he was smarter than himself. And if you talk to people like Larry Carr, they would say Cooper was a know-it-all who thought he knew more than he really knew. I'm not sure I agree with that, but
there's an arrogance there. Either
sure.
he knew more than he knew, or he thought he knew more than he knew.
Right. We don't know.
But there is a confident arrogance, that I think you can pick up on there.
And look, I mean, Leigh Seller is really the only suspect we have right now who is at least plausible, who could have died that we know of in the jump. Like if you want to think Cooper somehow died or skulked off somewhere and died later from injuries or something, Leigh Seller is really the only guy. It used to be Melvin Wilson, right? Until we learned that he had kids after 70. But it's Leigh Seller now.
Yeah, I think Leigh Seller makes, especially what you said about how he was with money. I think he makes more sense dying, because if he lived and had any good amount of that money, he probably would have been making big purchases, which is going to draw attention to himself, potentially put the money in cash flag transactions, which might have, gotten
he was careless,
ended up in circulation. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like if Leigh lived and had that money, he would have been, spending it all over the place, and that probably would have ended. That would have ended up in his demise and being caught.
Yeah, you're right. So
one other thing is was he born? He was born and raised in, or was he born in BC?
Yeah,
in British Columbia. Yeah,
it might have been. What's the one next to BC? Shoot.
But on the west coast side of Canada.
Yeah, he was Western Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's in the dialect, there's still stuff you can kind of pick up on,
Alberta.
Yeah. Okay.
Alberta's the one next to BC. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I know from meeting Tessa, I remember, I think she came to CooperCon 2021. It might have been 2021, 2022. And, we hung out, and within, about 10 minutes, I already picked up on a couple little words and just phrasing that she had automatic. Okay. Like, oh, you're not, you're not, like, you're Canadian. Like I guess, he could have been really good and just not wanting to let anything leak. But I think Cooper was being himself. He was offering conversation. So I have a hard time seeing that at least something wouldn't have gotten picked up in the accent that might have, that's my problem with anyone really from Canada, unless you're from that part, I guess. That's why they like the people from Quebec or whatever, because that's where the comic was. And you wouldn't have an accent from that part. But
I do have to say about the Canadian stuff, though. Cooper did put a qualifier on the money. He either said U.S. currency or American currency. We don't know which. Tina says he said U.S. currency. Radicek and I believe Flo's notes say American. So, and Tina may have heard U.S. and said American. Maybe Tina's the one who said American and Cooper said U.S. But either way, he put a qualifier on that, and it's really.
Where did the circulated come from then? Was that additional to circulated American?
So Tina is the one who says circulated U.S. currency, and the notes say negotiable American currency. So it's. But yeah, circulated comes from Tina. But yeah, he said something. He put a qualifier on it, which again, Americans are vain and arrogant about ourselves. We would never say anything other than dollars or bucks. We would never put a qualifier on something. So that's a really strange thing for a American to say. I just don't. It's so strange that it makes me really think he could have been from Canada.
That would have been before his request bringing up Mexico City.
Yes. Yeah. Mexico City was not known until they landed. So they didn't mention. Wait. Whoa. Yeah. So that was in the second set of demands. So when they landed, there was a second set of demands he gave. He said, now I want you to do this. And that was when the flaps at 15 degrees, all that sort of stuff, right? His very first demands were, I want $200,000 and 4 parachutes and or $200,000 in a knapsack and 4 parachutes before 5 o'clock. That was it. And then they land, and that's when after that, they're like, well, where to now? And then that's when he says the Mexico City, yada, yada. So
okay, because someone even brought it up in the chat. If was it ruse tied to flying to Mexico, right?
Yeah,
you kind of think, oh yeah, well, he just wants to make sure he's not getting pesos or something else. If he's saying he wants to go to Mexico, they might misinterpret that.
You know what? I had that thought too, and I think I kind of like in real time mentioned that thought. I think I said it in maybe somebody can correct me if you watched my reaction video recently, the most recent one I posted yesterday. I think I said that maybe that's what John Detler meant, because John Detler was like, we didn't think he was going to jump. And like, he says that several times. And I'm like, how could you not think he was going to jump when he asked for parachutes? Maybe he meant that they didn't think he was going to jump yet. Right. Because he negotiated the refueling stop. Like, if he was going to jump and knew he was going to jump immediately, why would he give a shit? He'd go, okay, whatever. Because when they say we're going to LA or San Francisco, he could just been like, sure, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? If he knew he was going to jump. So why would he argue with them about that? But
I think it was brought up that a couple of the options might have dictated a different flight path closer to the coast. I've heard that and that's kind of made sense to me.
Yeah, he wanted them to. Cooper wanted a more inland route, I guess, perhaps, and Reno is more inland than obviously. Yeah, San Fran and LA are on the coast, literally on the coast. So.
Right, so they might have taken some kind of coastal route. Maybe Cooper was concerned about them taking a coastal route where we're going to Nevada. Nevada's good. I know we're nowhere desert. We're nowhere near the ocean there. So maybe if you
maybe
manipulating a flight path like that.
I should probably text Detler and ask him that. Like, did you mean like that you didn't think he was going to jump yet?
That's good.
Because how could you not think he was going to jump when he asked for parachutes? Like, duh.
Yeah, that doesn't really
his heist should have been obvious immediately. Like, oh crap, he's going to jump out the back.
And he picked an aircraft you can actually jump out
exactly.
of. He demanded a configuration that
stairs down at takeoff. Well, why else would you want stairs down at takeoff and parachutes?
Yeah, and why would you want to slow the plane, create drag on the plane, and slow it down if you don't plan on jumping out of it? So that would be good to get clarification from Detler. Maybe they thought he was going to jump in Mexico because he went back and forth on the fuel stop or whatever.
And hey, obviously, he said don't stop to refuel anywhere in the United States. So like he didn't care if they refueled in Mexico. Because you can't go to Mexico City is a long way down there. It's not just like on the border. It's not it's not Tijuana. It's way down south. So they were going to have to stop at Mazatlan anyway. I think it would have taken
Mazatlan.
Yeah. I think it would have taken how many stops? I think they were going to do Reno, then Yuma. And then, it was going to take 3 refueling stops to get all the way to Mexico City flying that way. 3. So that's kind of, people don't realize that, it would take them a lot. That plane is not supposed to fly like that. So anyway, okay, that's Leigh Seller. So I have to attack. Okay. Duane Weber. All right, Duane. So that means you got to defend Duane. You can do it, Nicky. I see Duane. Okay, Duane. Where did Duane go? There he is. There's Duane. Okay, so I attacked Duane Weber. Well, for one thing, Duane Weber. The guy literally could have created liftoff with those ears. That's Yoda. DB Cooper, not am I. This is Dumbo. Like, he's being rocked to sleep by his elephant mother. Like, this is pretty bad.
Yeah,
that is Yoda.
He's got the biggest ears out of
any suspect.
For sure.
He wins
the Dumbo Award.
Yeah. He does win the Dumbo Award. And also, He was not a good crook. He spent a lot of his life in jail, and the good crooks are going to be the ones who don't get caught. That is a thing when people say, "Oh, we think if Cooper was a crook, he would have done this or that." Crooks do this and that. Well, we only have psychological profiles of the crooks who get caught. So
that's what Larry Carr has mentioned that a few times. He's like, I think he said there's a very small percentage of the 1% or whatever that don't get caught, and we know nothing about them because we can't study. Like criminology is all based on studying their behaviors and everything.
Yeah, it's like how there's like the old saying about how we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of the ocean, right? Like how many creatures are on the bottom of the ocean we don't have no idea about. Well, we don't know because we've never seen them, so we don't interview the criminals who win, because they get away with it.
Yeah. Where does Cooper fall in that? Is he out of that subset, or was he a criminal and he just kind of got lucky and he slipped through the cracks and off everyone's radar. So,
Duane also, I was going to say, Duane was a very large guy. I'll attack him on that. Duane was really big. I know he was like 6'2", but he was a broad individual. I mean, he was like 200 something, 200. He was well over 200 pounds. Large guy. I don't even know. It sounds preposterous, but like Joe Weber, because I only talked to her one time, and it was annoying. It was an annoying conversation, but I only talked to her one time. But like, Joe may have been, just to be honest about it, she may have been completely insane. Like, I wonder if Duane Weber even said, "I am DB Cooper," or "I'm Dan Cooper," right? I wonder if he even said that maybe she has some kind of mental illness and was a fan of like What Really Happened. Because like she had a copy of, the What Really Happened book or whatever. It had, but no, she said that like the What Really Happened book had Duane's handwriting in it, right? From the local library, or something like that. But I don't know about all that. But
yeah, we haven't seen that book. We haven't seen anything that really, we're just taking Joe's word for it on the confession. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know if he said.
We don't have anything showing that Duane actually wanted any connection to Cooper.
Duane had no aviation experience. There is nothing in his record that says he was ever a pilot or a paratrooper. I found out that he was in the 4th Infantry Division in World War II, Duane Weber was a D-Day veteran, which is kind of cool. Like it was, the first day of D-Day, he landed on the beaches. That's kind of neat. But he was not in the airborne. No skydiving experience, despite what Joe says. Somebody says, "Do we really think that Duane ever visited the library?" Funny. But he no aviation experience. Like Cooper was aviation adjacent to some degree. He just had to be. Like, again, I do not like the water. I am not going to create a heist where I have to scuba dive to escape with my freedom. Like that's just not going to happen. So Duane had no aviation experience. Let's see. Somebody's saying Packer is saying, if you do skip, I messaged you an image with 2 new face pics that aren't in the book tonight. Okay, I'll do that, Packer. Well, I mean, Skip Hall is going to come up at some point, so cool, yeah. I'll do that. But Duane, too large, no aviation experience, bad criminal. The ears are just really, really hard to deal with. Even McCoy, who has some big ears, they're not that big. And McCoy actually, like, he had to cover his ears up with his wig even because he knew his ears were going to throw him off. But no, Duane is nothing. I mean, Duane is the Forrest Gump of the DB Cooper world because, like, Joe would make him everywhere, like if we know for a fact, if Joe was around when the Rim Crew thing happened, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, Duane told me he wants was a janitor at this, titanium place in Pittsburgh. I don't know what the name of it was though. Like she would have totally done that. Like she did that with everything. Like if like somebody said, oh yeah, DB Cooper got ate by a fish. Yeah, me and Duane were watching TV one day, and Duane said, I got ate by a fish one time. I said, Duane, you never ate by no fish. Yeah, I was. Like, she always had, like, everything, like that. So, but he had no aviation experience whatsoever. Like, was never did anything like that. So, you try to defend Duane Weber. It can be done.
It can be done. He's got the criminal background. Obviously his ears, he had to do something with those. So, pinned them back, whatever, use something to get those ears back. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the swart, like besides the ears. I mean, he's got the swarthiness, right? You can give that, you can give that to Duane. I don't know if his bottom was protruding, but another one it looked more protruding. He's definitely got a bigger bottom lip than he does top lip, and like in purport, like his top lip is like really nothing, and then he's got some bottom lip fat. So I think you can get him there. Cheekbones, the cheekbones, forehead's decent size there. Physically, he's got the dark hair, dark eyes. So besides the ears, physically, he's not so bad. Except his criminal background. So that's not a problem for him. What else about Duane? I mean, if you go with some of the stuff Joe said, the whole Red Lion story, digging up money, throwing some in the river. If any of that stuff Joe said rings any truth at all, I guess. I don't know. Maybe somewhat interesting. Tim, I think Tim Collins has done the best job making the case for Weber. So, Collins is a smart guy, and he did, I don't know, 6-7 hours on Weber. So if there's got to be a little something there if he's able to spend all those hours. And I know a lot of people were a little bit convinced on it. Yes.
Oh my God, that was the best. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. That's probably my favorite. Those are my favorite Vortex podcasts because Tim Collins is a really good storyteller, master storyteller. In fact, just he's as good as it gets in the Vortex. As for that, but yeah, I like Duane. Like I said, if you got rid of Duane's ears, I mean, he's not a bad comp B at all. Like he is a very good comp B comparison. If you were to do it that way, for sure. But yeah, he's just those ears are just really bad. But if you were interested in Duane Weber at all, Tim Collins' podcast will make you think something about it for sure. So definitely check out that. But yeah, Joe's funny. Like you wonder about Joe, it's like she was almost in a way Duane's worst advocate, right? If you think about it, like because you didn't know what was true and what wasn't, right? With that.
Yeah, because she just blurred the lines like no one's business. So
yeah. She was a master at line blurring. Yeah, she was like Chappelle's show. There's that Chappelle show where the Charlie Murphy skit where he's like, he's a line stepper, habitual line stepper. Like she was a storyteller, habitual storyteller. Like everything was, oh, well, Duane said this. I mean, these days, like I'm surprised that nobody just had fun. Actually, I think maybe they did. Maybe Georgia did. I want to say Georgia had fun with her sometimes and would say things just to like have her say, oh, well, this happened, like he would I think he would just make up things just to prompt her to bullshit. Like back when Georgia was more active, he would like say things just to like goad her into making something up, but,
yeah, totally. He was, she killed a lot of his credibility with, just trying to shoehorn him into and whatever the topic was.
Whatever it was.
Shoehorn him. Yeah. So that, that really hurt his credibility for sure.
All right. So you have to attack Uncle LD.
Uncle LD. Attack him. All right. So let's see. Uncle LD. Let's see. First of all, colored eyes, right? What was LD's eye color?
Looks like hazel.
Hazel eyes. Okay, not too bad. As far as physical, nose. I guess it's not the hugest, but I don't know. It's just right here on the bottom. It's not the straight dorsal. It's got a little bit of puffiness. I don't know what that one was taken. The whole story with Marla and everything like that. I think Uncle LD was, up to something.
Yeah.
And I do think that Marla, her retelling of that incident, them coming back from church, saying they were turkey hunting and all that. I don't doubt that whole thing happened. We've later learned that the FBI actually interviewed, was it LD's mother or?
Yeah, his mother. Yeah, in LD's, 71. Yeah.
Yeah, LD's mom. As far as as far as what was LD. What was it? Did LD have any military background?
He was in the surface Navy. That's the way to attack that, Nicky. As you say, he was in the surface Navy. He was like on a destroyer or something in Korea. So
yeah,
he wasn't he was not in Navy aviation. He was in the surface Navy, the water Navy.
So no really military background there. As far as anything else, I don't know. I'm having trouble like coming up with stuff on his background. But you go ahead and defend him, and then
I will
bring up some stuff, and I'll throw it back in my argument.
Okay. Yeah, LD. For one thing, LD's a decent match to. I mean, honestly, if you look at the Bing sketch, I mean, it's pretty solid. Honestly, as far as because obviously, whoever Cooper is, he's not going to look like he will not look like this sketch. He will not look like Comp B that close. Sketches are always going to be off 30%, right? So I always wonder, could someone draw that picture from seeing that individual one time and go, yeah, I guess so. Like if you ran into LD, that face there, you could plausibly come up with that sketch there and go, yeah, I guess so. So that's close enough. His skin is obviously olive. Like that is olive skin to a T. That is literally olive skin. I like I would say his nose is good. His nose is not crazy big or anything like that. His lip, you can tell he's got a little something going on there. Let me see his college photo. I've got his college photo somewhere. Let me pull that up and see how his college. Let's see if we can see his lip better here. Yeah, there we go. That's a lower lip, folks, for sure. That's a heavy lower lip. So he's definitely had that in that college photo. I would say that LD, I've had this spill before. Yeah, somebody's saying, was LD an early suspect because of his name? Yes. So his brother, Dewey, worked for Boeing. And everybody with the last name Cooper who worked for Boeing, they were vetted. Okay. And Dewey was not, the Cooper boys were from Sisters, Oregon. They were rough around the edges. They were originally from Oklahoma. They were Native American descent. That's why LD has that coloring and those high cheekbones and the high forehead. That's obviously a Native American trait. So they were Native American. So he fits look at that. I mean, that is a guy who you could look at him and say, maybe he's a quarter Mexican or a quarter Native American. Like you could, if somebody told me that, I would believe that. I would believe that he had a grandfather who was Indian or Mexican, right? I could see it. So there's that. But he got a lot better. But anyway, so Dewey was investigated, and it's all kind of redacted. But it sounds like that they went around investigating Dewey Cooper, and somebody said you might want to check into his brother Lynn because he's he's had some recent things going on. And so they go and they interview LD's mother. And this came out like 6 months ago. I remember I immediately messaged Marla Cooper. I was like, Marla, did you know, check this out? Because, we thought that LD was a brand new suspect when Marla shows up, right? But really what's funny is this shows how disorganized the FBI's files were when they weren't digitized. Is Curtis Ng, the case agent at the time, had no idea. I bet Curtis still, I'll try that. I have his email. I might email and say, were you aware that LD was in the FBI files all along? He was like, no. Now LD did not have a suspect number. Okay. So that's how, but he is mentioned though. He did not warrant a suspect number, but they go to his mom's house and they say, hey, have you seen your son LD? And this is in December of 71. And she goes, well, no. She goes, he, in early November, he checked out he was in the VA mental hospital in Portland up until like early November. So, and I remember like that really raised me a little bit because I'm of the opinion, having studied all these skyjackers, that these guys are a little kooky, a lot of them. And we have a guy who has a plausible story who was in the mental hospital in Portland earlier that month. And it's like, okay, that really boosted him for me because I like that aspect of it. A guy who's kind of unbalanced in that moment. And his wife had killed herself earlier that year. And so he was really like going through it. So, and I was going to mention one thing to attack LD.
Yeah, I was going to say using the
DUIs.
The Dewey, yeah.
DUIs he had multiple DUI. He had felony DUI. Actually, he was a felon. LD was a felon for DUI, which felony DUI is 3 DUIs. You get 3 DUIs, you become a felon. Okay. Now think about back then, how hard it was to get DUIs back then. That was in the days of like, okay, I'll follow you home, that sort of stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
you'd have to be a raging drunk to get a DUI back then. Like clearly, like not like I'm blowing a .10 or something. Like I am 0.25 fall down drunk driving a car. He had 3 of those. So that does go into the thing about I discussed in that latest video about how, the FBI are like, Cooper was not an alcoholic because we know that hijackers will keep drinking and drinking and drinking when they get scared, and
yeah, that would have been the way, if anyone's alcoholic there, I think you can boot them for me because that's the way they're going to, in that high stress situation, that's the way they're going to regulate and try to calm their nerves.
Yeah. And Mary, thank you, Mary Johns. She points out that LD had gone by an alias, which used his last name. So there is something in the FBI files where it's like, he also goes by these made up names.
See, I wanted to attack him for using the last name Cooper.
Yeah.
Because I did hear something about that. So if the guy was dumb enough, I guess, to use his last name as an alias, I can't.
Yeah, this might be it. I see if I can read this. Okay,
I wanted to bring that up as a knock against him, but I do remember reading that he used the alias Cooper. So
okay, so this is his brother describing him. Yeah, he's saying he is nervous. It says Dewey Cooper is describing LD Cooper. He's nervous, smokes, has tobacco stains on his hand. His brown, balding hair, 42 years old, white, 5'10", 170, worked in power line construction. So a construction worker. So yeah, like, and somewhere else they have, that's a good profile. He fits the actual physical profile really well.
He does.
And we have this too. We've got,
That's
Flo.
another good point.
Yeah, we have Flo saying, when Wheeler, that's Flo's name, when Wheeler observed the photographs, she stated to the interviewing agents that the photographs of L.D. Cooper bear the closest resemblance to D.B. Cooper she has seen of possible suspects. So now Flo said the same thing about Kenny, but
yeah, he's good. He's good likeness wise. I can't hate him.
And like, not that they matter, but Marla did pass a FBI lie detector test.
Yeah, that's why I think her story was true.
Right. Something
that doesn't make him Cooper, but
right. They were up to something. And her story about I've considered that her story about, and it was funny because I saw this in Andrade's book and I'm like, maybe I'd osmosis did or something, but like I thought it was my idea. And I was like, oh, Marty had the idea before I did. But like the bloody story where he shows up on Thanksgiving Day, like bloody, like to me, I'm going, that is a 7-year-old not knowing what she's seeing. I think he got drunk and probably flipped his car down the road, and Dewey goes to get drunken brother out of the car. And that's what she was seeing, a car wreck.
And then they say, they were turkey hunting, right? That's a good excuse right there. We're shooting some turkeys. That's how we explain the book. But yeah, I think him being an alcoholic, I think that's an absolute killer for him. Obviously, Cooper only had one drink. We don't know if he finished it or not. And it spilled. So no other drinks ordered there. Yeah. So I don't.
But LD, it's funny. Like another thing too, LD's brother did work for Boeing. So like, remember how we talk about this with Cooper is we discuss how Cooper doesn't necessarily have to be a pilot or know this stuff for fact. He could just have it secondhand knowledge.
Yeah.
From an accomplice or something, or be around somebody who knows,
Yeah. We don't know how Cooper acquired his knowledge. It could have been through firsthand practical. It could have been through somebody he knew. It could have just him been doing reconnaissance because this is what he's doing. And
No, and I like what Flo. So this Chris M is saying, I think he's right. And honestly, I think he's right because he says, I wonder if Flo's statement has more to do with his skin tone, hair, height, and face shape. He's exactly what I pictures Cooper's skin tone. No, here's what I think is that
skin for the tone
is that we know from the early 70s, we know from the mid 70s, Tina and Flo are saying, look, Cooper is starting to look like the sketch to me. Because I've seen this sketch so many times. I'm thinking, and so like when you look at like LD, he looks like the sketch. Right. And so what Flo is seeing is the freaking sketch in her mind now, not Cooper. Same thing for Kenny Christensen.
Yeah. What ended up happening is at first, they made the sketches and everything. They gave their input, but then once the sketches came about and everyone was commenting and everything like that, it became like, this guy looks like the sketch, but they're not thinking, well, is this Cooper. How I remember him? They're thinking, well, He looks like the sketch.
And that's actually legitimately in the FBI files. There is an FBI file that says we need to stop showing them the sketch because they're just saying, or stop showing them suspects because they're just remembering the sketch now. Like, which is
they're
true.
Not going off their memory. They're comparing to the sketches now. And that's what good is that? Like we can do that. We can compare to the sketches. We want them.
Well, and like I get guff from some people who complain about, they say, oh, you like comp A and stuff. I'm like, well, look, how is your memory better 9 months after something than 3 days after? It's not like that. That's just logic. So, I mean,
I think
it's not like, I mean, that's literally just human. Why would you remember a person I saw 3 days ago at Burger King better 9 months from now than now? That's preposterous. Like it just is.
Yeah.
And I think that by the time the other sketches came out, they're just like, I don't know what they're remembering or what, but like, how would you remember something 9 months later? Even Tina Mucklow, when they first came out with Comp B, the Hoodlum sketch, Tina's like, please don't take my input anymore because it's becoming foggy in my mind. That's Tina Mucklow by the time the sketch comes out. So like, if she can't even remember anything or is having trouble with it, I mean, and that's not a knock on Comp B. It's just saying why I have begun to support Comp A because, like I said, we used to our understanding of the sketches used to be that Flo did not like Comp A. And in my opinion, Flo is the best witness to Cooper's face. Okay. Cause she saw him she interacted with him like 8 different times before he became the hijacker. Okay. And then multiple times after the hijacker. So like without sunglasses on. Right. So I think Flo's the best witness. So when I thought Flo said that Comp A is a terrible sketch, okay, well then maybe Comp A is a terrible sketch. But now we know that Flo said she likes Comp A very much. So if your main witness is saying that sketch, she liked it very much, 3 days later, I've never seen Cooper. So, but she did. So I'm gonna take her word for it.
Yeah, and I think by default, that's the one we have to kind of defer to a little bit. Now that doesn't mean that sketch B is wrong, or there isn't likeness in sketch B.
Sure.
Because they also said they liked sketch B.
Of course.
They said they liked both.
Yeah, so it's like
both sketches.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. They liked both sketches. So I'm going to go with the one that they like best closer to the time.
If they like both sketches, then I think that they like the one closer to the event. I think by default that has to be the more you still got to get the features from Comp A. Like I think you got to have some of those features that Comp A
There's something there.
Yeah. And so you got to have something. You can't just completely rule it out.
He's saying, didn't Flo say the exact same thing about other suspects too? Yeah, Flo. I have Flo 3 different times saying, 4 actually. Flo said that Donald Sylvester Murphy looks more like Cooper than any of the 300 photographs she'd ever seen. That was in 1972. So that does carry weight. Okay. Because that's so early. She said Jack Kofelt looked just like Cooper. She says Kenny Christensen looks just like Cooper in 2010 or whatever. And then in 2011, she says LD Cooper looks just like DB Cooper. So, she... Right.
And I'm sure if you look at all of them, there's like probably something that grabbed them from each one of them to make them say that. And I just think those are all part of it. Like I said, these sketches are just sketches. They're not a picture of the guy.
No, so, not at all.
It takes a little bit of work to kind of get the things, but we got features there, regardless. Sketch A, sketch B, we got the features down.
They're not pictures, but they're features. And it just, anyway. All right. So let's see. I have to attack. Oh man. All right. Jason Langseth. Okay. So Langseth, I will preface this by saying, if you don't know who Jason Langseth is, Jason Langseth is, to my knowledge, the single most investigated suspect over time in the entire DB Cooper case. He was investigated in 72, 77, 79, 86, 93, and 2003. He, along with Catalano, were the ones who were never, ruled out. And the only reason Jason Langseth is ruled out now, and here I am defending him in a way, but the only reason he's, quote, ruled out now is because his DNA didn't match. But again, his DNA didn't match what? Some random person's DNA from the tie. Like, we don't have Cooper's DNA, so I don't put any stock in that. But yeah, attacking Langseth. Let me pull up Jason. Where is he? Here we go. Okay. Langseth. Attack Langseth. Man, to be honest, Langseth's actually hard to attack. He was 30, maybe 36 at the time. So I would say he's a bit young to be Cooper. He was a talker, apparently. He did tell tales, apparently.
He had blue eyes, no?
Yes, he did. Oh yeah. And we know that the stewardesses, well, at least one of the stewardesses, said that he was not Cooper, and that was in 72. So we do have a witness saying he's not Cooper. But to be honest, I've read a lot about Langseth, and other than, I guess, his DNA didn't match the tie DNA, which means nothing to me, honestly. And the main thing I would say that I would be a lot more into Langseth if not for, I think it's Mucklow. who said that he was not Cooper in 72. So if not for that, I mean, but like I said, this guy is the most investigated Cooper suspect. Best I can tell. There is a guy out of LA who I don't know his name. It pisses me off.
I'd like to know who that guy is, dude.
He comes up a lot. I mean, this guy comes up habitually. Comes up. He's a habitual comer-upper. I mean,
he sent the hair slide down to LA.
They did.
Comparison for him, right? We didn't know who this guy is still. No.
They compared the hair to Cooper 3 times. McCoy, LA guy, and Orville Lyons. That's it. So that they thought that strongly about that. So, but anyway, so yeah, Langseth's a good, but I defend Langseth. You have an easier time than I will, I think.
So Langseth, he, whether you think this is a good or bad, he talked about pulling off the perfect crime, right? So it was something that, something that was on his mind. He was criminally minded for sure.
Yeah, sure.
100%. The guy seemed like he was kind of a schemer, just a schemer shyster kind of dude. He was he's ripping off old people, senior citizens. He runs, so he doesn't care. Doesn't seem like he has any care or thought about about people or anything like that. Screw everyone as long as I can get money or whatever. So it doesn't seem like he has much of a conscience. That's good. You believe the FBI, he was practicing night jumps, which is, why is he practicing night jumps? I know the guy, he lost some of his teeth, which I guess like right here, I don't.
No, that picture's in college, by the way. So
that picture's in college. Okay. Yeah. That could possibly contribute to a protruding lower lip. I'm not a dentist or anything like that, but we have a dentist on our group that's weighed in and said that's a possibility. I'm to take our expertise on that. Pretty good circumstantial stuff there. He's got the criminality, he's got the parachute, the parachute. I get, I don't. The FBI I don't know how the FBI confirmed it or anything, but yeah, the FBI says he was practicing some night jumps. He wasn't in the skydiving community or anything like that, or anything I can ascertain. So I don't know exactly where he would have done those night jumps or anything like that. But yeah,
he did him.
But yeah, he didn't. So
I think you're forgetting the thing where I was like, and I even mentioned this to Larry when I talked to Larry Carr one time. I was like, Larry, did you know that this guy? I said, what would you think if you?
He lied to the FBI.
Yeah. The guy lied about his location on November 24th, 71. Who would lie to the FBI about where they were on November 24th, 71?
Yeah,
that is.
But if you're a criminal, you're a shyster, like Langseth. I mean, he was just involved. I just think he was just involved in some other kind of criminal activity that he didn't want to, want them poking around for or insinuate himself.
Somebody's asking about his military experience. Yeah, he was in Korea. He was in the Korean War in a demolitions unit, so he could have made the bomb. So he was in a demolitions unit in the Korean War and was decorated. He was a sergeant in the Korean War. So Langseth was a Korean War veteran.
Demolition.
Yeah, demolitions. Yeah, and
no really aviation experience except the
skydiving. Yeah,
the skydiving nights, which I don't know how that I don't know where the FBI was able to confirm that.
Well, but they've got it in there. And I would say that. Yeah, I would say that. For those who don't know, essentially Jason Langseth. Oh yeah, he worked in industrial chemicals. Let's not forget that Langseth was an industrial chemicals salesman. So. Possible tie connection there. He was literally the man was an industrial chemicals salesman. That was his day job at the time of the hijacking. So, I mean, Langseth's really freaking good, man. Like if you did not have, I was like really going, what in the frick, until I saw that Tina said he wasn't Cooper, because that's tough. to overcome, like especially in 72. Like if she said that in like the 80s, it's like Orville Lyons. If we find out that Tina says Orville Lyons in 86 wasn't Cooper, I'm like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, and Lady says, blue eyes. So again, the blue eyes on the darker complexion to say.
But he was Indian though. Remember, I believe Pat Boland did a lot of research on Langseth, and he was a Cherokee. His mother, I think, was like half Cherokee. Like he was a quarter Cherokee Indian from Oklahoma. So did have that going for him. And but yeah, they asked him. They said, "Where were you on November 24th, 71?" He goes, "I was working in Colorado." Doing my industrial chemical sales. And I can give you my logbook and you can see that I was at these places. And so he gives the FBI his logbook and they call these places and they're not real places. Like he gave them fake places. He was like, the names were fake. And yes, somebody's saying, was he cooperative with the FBI or wasn't? He lawyered up eventually. In like the late 70s, they wanted him. They said, look, we take a polygraph. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. Well, his lawyer said, don't do that, which I would advise that too. Like I would never advise a client to take a polygraph test, like ever, because it's junk science. So his lawyer said, don't take it. But remember, Jason Langseth, and they verified this, was getting monthly stipend checks throughout the 70s from a Canadian bank. The guy was from California. Like, why is he getting checks from a Canadian bank? And the FBI goes up there and says, hey, bank, when did he open this account? And the bank was like, told them to kick rocks. Said, look, we're not telling you anything, about our clients. So piss off. And they did. So, if you could kind of like, Langseth is a guy where if you could kind of invent a plausible scenario for Cooper, it would be a guy like this, who's talking about the perfect crime, night jumps. He's 5'11", receding hairline, but not bald, thin little nose,
doing financial crimes.
A legitimate con, like the guy who scammed old people feloniously.
Con. Yeah, legit con.
And like I said, we won't mention it on here because I guess I can't defame the dead, but I won't. If you recall, like last year, his niece posted on Reddit some pretty unfortunate things about him that were really ugly. You remember that?
Yeah.
And like she kind of like skulked off, but when we wanted more information and she wouldn't give it. But yeah, possibly the guy was doing really, 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 really heinous things. So he was not a good person at all. Like he was a nasty individual, heavy smoker. But yeah, he's a good, Tim, they closed his file though, because he didn't match the DNA. And that is not a reason to close the file. We know now, because that DNA is shit on the tie. It's just not, no, it's dumb. So that's why they closed the file.
Yeah. Skin, I think skin is fine. I mean, he's got, he seems like he's dark. I don't know how olive complected he was actually.
He does. I mean, his lip is so heavy. I FOIA'd the photograph that they showed everybody. There is a more current, because he's in college here, right? But there is a more current photograph of him from the late 60s that they showed the stewardesses, I think. So I FOIA'd for that photograph, for a high quality photo of that.
Yeah,
so I'll
it'd be
get that
nice
eventually.
to have some more pictures of Langseth. There's just not that much out there, so we can't really determine skin tone.
No,
that's a little murky there.
Because anybody, if you were born after, I think the cutoff was 1928, your draft card is not on fold 3. So like we can't if say for example, if Langseth was a World War II guy, all the guys who are middle-aged guys normally, if you're in your 40s, we can look you up on fold 3 and see your draft card and see what color skin tone you had, whatever. But Langseth, we're not really sure. But the guy, again, was a quarter Cherokee, so I mean, he's gonna have dark.
Yeah, but a quarter Cherokee with blue eyes. So how much of the Indian did he really get?
Right. Yeah, Randy's asking about palm prints. No. Oh, good. Oh, you mean like did they get his palm prints in 2003? Not that I know of. I mean, all I know is that they got his DNA. I guess they thought that was gonna be more dispositive than anything else. So, but that's a good question.
Which is curious to me. Why in the Ralph Hope initiative? Like, why didn't they also go for those palm prints?
Yeah.
Why did they try anything with the palm prints in the hope? Maybe just I don't know. Maybe just Hope was like, oh, DNA is the new way and blah, blah, blah.
I think so.
I don't know. But maybe he missed the palm print. But I think the palm print, if like you can get palm prints on these guys, that would have been the way. Go palm print first, right? You don't
and they did do that. Like I said, we have that all in the FBI files where they're like, hey, give us your palm print. Like that
wasn't what they were after when Hope's initiative.
Right,
it was just DNA. It was just DNA only.
Right,
like it should have been DNA and look with hindsight, it should have probably been DNA and palm prints.
Yeah, for those who are not familiar with the fingerprint stuff, there were 10 or 11 fingerprints taken from around his seat, and all of them were partials. So either he wiped them down, or probably more likely he had done something to his fingertips to just make them not put glue on them or something. But they do have they feel very good that they've got Cooper's palm print from where he pushed up off his seat when he got up, right? Because you got to push down on the little armrest, So they're pretty sure they got a good palm print of him, but they did not start taking palm prints like as Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a military recruiter. He was on last week, and he said they still don't take palm prints when they induct you to the military. I was like, that was kind of good. That was kind of good knowledge to know from a guy who palm prints people for the military. He said or does not palm print people. He said
that just happens to be the only type of unobstructed print Cooper left. It makes you wonder, did he know what kind of print he could leave and what he couldn't?
I mean, that is vortex.
It just worked out. It just worked out that way, right? A bunch of fingerprints, all of them scuffed or obfuscated, whatever that word is to use.
Obfuscated.
And then, but we do have a couple of clear palm prints there, which your palms, you think you'd be even like.
Well, but again, I don't think that, like I said, no one took palm prints in the military, law enforcement. Like law enforcement didn't take palm prints until 2003. So like, I don't think your brain would even go to palm prints if you're just somebody back then. Because why would it's almost like leaving DNA behind. It wasn't a thing you cared about because they didn't do it.
Yeah, so, it's like you'd only really be worried about your fingers.
Sure, well, yeah, because fingerprints, not palm prints. Yeah. Mike Ferguson on there says, he says I can confirm that fingerprints not taken during the military. Yeah, well, like I said, we had a military recruiter on last week who said that they don't do that today. He says Randy says that Zodiac left a writer's palm print, the left side of his palm. And even if you have your regular palm print, it won't mean anything. So
you can't even compare palm prints? Is that what you're saying?
Left a writer's palm print. And if you have your regular palm print, it won't mean anything. I guess he's saying that like
it's like very rare. So it's maybe very difficult to match up because it's.
I think maybe he's saying that like on a fingerprint, they will roll your finger. Okay, they'll roll it when they take your fingerprint, so they get both sides of it. Maybe on a palm print, they don't roll your palm. So maybe like if you, I know what it is. Like the left side of your palm has a print too, but they don't like take that side of your palm when they take a palm print. They just take, what smushes down on a paper, right? I think that's what they're saying.
So maybe it was just difficult to compare. Maybe that's why the FBI didn't try to go that route and get some palm prints from those guys.
Yeah, that's what Randy's saying. Okay, so we'll move on. So let's see. I just defend. Did you just defend Langseth?
No, I defended Langseth. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So now you have to attack somebody. So you're going to attack. Attack Skip Hall.
Oh, gotta attack Skip. Okay. So let's see. Skip Hall. Okay. So you can't see it in that picture. Well, one thing you can't see in this picture is you can look at his forehead here, and I've heard him described as sausage wrinkles. He's got creases here on his forehead.
This photo might have it. Yeah, when he raises his eyebrows, it's pretty distinctive.
Now I don't know if those are still there when he doesn't raise his eyebrows or not. If it's dependent on his facial expression, but they can be like they can definitely show. I don't know. I don't know if that's how it looks when he's got a regular resting face. But yeah, that's something that kind of sticks out to me. especially if you had sunglasses on. We know Cooper got frustrated a couple times. I don't know if he shouted or anything like that, but I don't know if that would have popped out. I've seen a photo. I don't know if you have it, that it shows a mole. Like he's got a mole.
Yeah, he does.
You can kind of see
small one on the left side of his face. Yeah.
Yeah, small one on the left side of his face.
You can kind of see it there, right there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, albeit I'm nitpicking Skip because this is to give kudos to Skip is you gotta really nitpick the guy because
he's pretty good.
I mean, he's solid as a suspect. So you really got to. A lot of these guys you can't even get to the point of nitpicking. Skip you can. So I think that shows his strength as a suspect. But yeah, the mole. So this is a new photo here. Okay, I don't think I've seen this. Have you?
It's a passport photo. Yeah. No,
yeah. Okay, so this is a new one here. It's kind of blurry with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
it's about the forehead wrinkles, though.
You still see him. You still see him there. I don't know what.
Well, in the video, I actually, when I was discussing him on the drop zone the other day, I think I've got a picture here. Let me find it, where I wanted to see what his resting wrinkles looked like in '68, and I've got it here. Wait, or do I have it actually? Where did I save that to? Let me find it. Okay, that's on my desktop. Okay, so got the resting wrinkles. Where we go? Okay, there it is. Okay, so this is resting wrinkles, which I mean is not crazy.
Yeah, that's Yep. Yeah.
Well, and again,
what year is
that? 68. So
okay, 68. Gotcha. And were the ones like that other one were more extreme? What year was that?
Same year. So basically every time that we have photos of Skip, almost all of our best photos of Skip Hall are going to be from '68 when he testified with Jim Garrison or whatever it was that he did with the JFK stuff. I think he testified maybe in front of Congress or something. Like I forget who it was. Let me see. I've got another thing on him. Where is it? I think I've got, if you look at his, it's like Cooper, I'm defending him now. We're defending him as we're talking about him, but like, if you look at the Comp B sketches, Cooper's got forehead wrinkles. So, I mean,
there's a little bit going on there. And I think, just given his age, there's going to be some.
Okay. Keep attacking Skip though, if you can. So,
yeah. So I think, I think the mole though, really, especially if it's, so you said it was on his left side.
Mm-hmm.
There was one where I saw a picture where the mole is pretty prominent there on his left side. So if he was sitting, I know Tina said she never looked at him straight on, but she lit a cigarette. So if he's sitting on the right, on that right side of the 727, Tina's going to get that mole, that mole side when she's lighting a cigarette. Right. And we don't, there's no indicators. It said there's no moles, no scars, no anything like that.
Yeah. And I don't think the sunglasses were low enough to cover that.
Yes. So that mole would have stood out on the facially to Tina, especially being on that left side, because inevitably, I know she said she didn't look at him head on, which I don't think she looked at him face to face. Probably I think that's what she's meaning, but she got the side profile very close when lighting a cigarette, and she didn't notice that. She didn't notice that mole. And there's no, in the FBI files, it's no visible scars, moles, or anything like that on his face. So I would say the wrinkles, but I think the mole is probably the biggest physical thing against Skip. And I think he was, didn't he have hepatitis in 1970? Am I correct in that?
He did have an illness, yeah.
Hepatitis. So I'm not a doctor, but from doing a little bit of research, I know hepatitis, you got that. It makes it would have made him more wrinkly. It would have made him that from what my understanding is on hepatitis, it can do some things physically to you that maybe, we don't have, it might have made him even look even a little bit more rougher in 71.
Well, haggard. Although I guess that would, to defend him, I'll jump in and defend him. I guess if he's looking haggard though, remember a lot of folks in the Vortex say that Skip Hall is perhaps too handsome to be Cooper, but if he's haggard, that would make him look rougher.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm actually, yeah, exactly.
So that would actually help him in a way.
Yeah, I don't know to what degree that would have changed things, but he's still like, I don't think it would have turned him from a handsome, like, I don't think it would have turned him into a pumpkin almost, where he's not.
Skip Hall is a decent looking fellow. I mean, he's not.
He's a good looking guy. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe hepatitis. Like, I don't know if that turns you into a pumpkin. I like to hear a little bit more insights into that from doctors or whatever. Right. Aside from physical, the only thing I could say maybe is, I know Skip was very politically motivated, right? He was super right wing, I'm correct like that, and he never took a chance to make a statement of any kind. And I know Cuba was brought up. Skip he just kind of laughed at that. He didn't take a chance to make any kind of a statement. Now I understand, well, that could have brought attention to him, or something like unnecessary attention to him. It might have given him a tell. But I just know, like, these right wing, from my understanding, these guys, these right wing, real political dudes, like it's hard for them to hold back. And especially having this platform, I don't know.
Yeah. Packer
wouldn't have brought up.
Packer made these are slides that Packer made for Skip. And we're going to spend some time on Skip, more than other suspects, because he is kind of the suspect du jour, I guess, right? I would say in the Vortex for sure.
He's up.
In fact, I've got, let me see. So there's this one. These are the ones that Packer showed at CooperCon, but weren't in the book here. Let me pull this one up here for everybody. Let me see. Yeah, somebody mentioned that he looked like Comp B in the passport photo, and let's see here. Yeah, definitely looks like Comp B in the passport photo for sure. That's a good Comp B comparison, and he's he's one of these guys who really does kind of fit all the sketches. Kind of, I mean, like, it's kind of silly that, like, I made my little goofy composite where I mixed Comp A and Comp B, and he does look a lot like Skip Hall when you actually mix Comp A and Comp B like that. But no, Skip's so I'll defend Skip is that I guess the best way to defend Skip is that he is it's not a very good photograph here. Here's a photograph, another one. I'm just trying to find these photos that I've got on my computer of Skip. You can kind of tell his coloring in this one a little bit. Let me see if I can pull up his coloring, because the guy turns out that he was not Mexican or not Hispanic. He was Native American. His daughter's DNA profile showed 20% Native American. Now that's his daughter. So Skip may have been 40% Native American or whatever. So there's a kind of a colory photo of Skip. You can tell his coloring. That is an olive individual for sure. Absolutely. That's not, but it's kind of, I'd like to see a better quality of that. But, Skip is our only, obviously there's, been, if you do the drop zone, there's been some kind of silly discussion lately about Heineman back and forth with me and Flyjack. But other than Heineman, Skip is the only suspect who plausibly could pass as Latin, right? Because the guy did pretend to be, this is a photo of him when he was masquerading as Lorenzo Pasillo, a Cuban. So like the man went around collecting donations fraudulently as a Cuban freedom fighter. And he passed himself off as a Cuban for years. And this guy, there is a photo, I think it might be in Packer's new book. There's going to be that. There's a photo. Maybe I'm wrong, Packer, but isn't there a photo of him? There's literally a photo of him with Che Guevara, in the 50s. It's like, what in the world is Skip Hall doing with Che Guevara, man? but like the guy got around for sure. And we're really excited in the Cooper world to see what the new FBI, what the new JFK files are going to say about Skip Hall, because he was, I mean, the man literally knew Lee Harvey Oswald. So, I mean,
I'm curious too. If there's going to be anything more on Lyle Cameron's phone call with Jack Ruby. That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, like Mike Ferguson says, Skip Hall was literally in Dallas in November 63. And the man was not from Texas and didn't live in Texas, had no business in Texas. So he was in Dallas in 63. We've got his son who just passed away last month, I think, sadly. His son was like, when he heard about the JFK assassination, he said, "Oh my God, where is Skip?" Because he was like, I think my dad assassinated Kennedy. Like, when your first thought is my dad just killed the president, not good. And we have him, like, that is not speculation. He met with Lee Harvey Oswald. That is interesting. Yeah. But as far as Cooper goes, we've got the revelation now to defend him that he gave his Packers in the chat. Did he give his kids or his grandkids the coins? He gave either his kids or grandkids coins when he was an old man of a Boeing 727 with the year 1971 on it. And there's photographs of this. This is not made up. I mean, the kids or grandkids have shown Packer these coins that he gave them. I mean, so if he wasn't Cooper, he maybe would have liked people to think he was DB Cooper without saying it.
Maybe. I mean, but he also just he just worked at. I mean, he worked at Boeing in Kansas, right?
He worked at Boeing in Kansas. True. That's true. He may have just come across those. And it could be coincidence of the year, but we do know that
727 is arguably. I think it's their
iconic
best
plane. Yeah, it's iconic. Yeah, sure. But I'll say that he was What's funny is the FBI, their speculation on who DB Cooper was. It literally says middle management in like an aviation facility. And that in 71, that was Skip Hall's occupation. He was middle management at Northrop Aviation on the ground. So like the man literally fits exactly what the FBI thought he was, which is a guy. And he was a pilot. And he had the thing about Skip that I do like, and like I said, I'm not stumping for Skip, but I do find him intriguing. Like I said, some physical things, like I said, the mole is troubling. I don't find the facial, the wrinkles troubling at all because, I mean, he has to do this to really do that, and so I don't know.
I think it's a little bit unclear, like how impressionable were his wrinkles on his resting.
Well, and again, Cooper had forehead wrinkles.
No, he had some, but were they
enough for him to draw it?
Super prominent on Skip or not? We don't know.
Yeah, and if you watch the Skip Hall video that I have on my channel where he's talking, whenever he talks, his lower lip juts out. It's it does this weird thing with his lower lip jumps out whenever he talks.
Yeah, and I'll throw that
strange.
And I'll throw that into my bashing, I guess, if you will, of Skip. His voice seems, I don't know, to me it seems distinct. I know to me it seems distinctive. He's got like a real low baritone. To me it sounds like
because I'm not in contact with anybody from Texas.
You give the impression that you wouldn't like to go to Texas at this point.
Well, if I wanted to commit suicide, I would probably go to Dallas, Texas.
So I don't know.
He's got that deep.
Sounds like John Wayne.
Yeah, he's got that like real deep. And maybe that's what the.
No, actually, Mike Ferguson says he also lived in SoCal. He could have been to Elsinore. No, he did go to Elsinore. That's been confirmed. Actually, his son was his son and wife skydive at Elsinore, and they told Packer, they said, Dad would come and just smoke cigarettes and watch.
I hear, and I don't really understand how the Elsinore connection really does anything to him as a suspect, because it's like I don't see Lyle. That's like a little bit of Forrest Gumping, maybe. I don't know, because Lyle Cameron would have probably known who Skip Hall was.
No, Randy, maybe, but Randy's saying that the weather could explain in LA could explain the swarthiness. No, Skip Hall was like
He already has the
he
tone.
was Native American.
You don't need weather with Skip Hall. He's got the skin tone. Okay,
He's Native American.
I think this. Oh, he needs to be here or he needs to be here to get the suntan. I think that's for POIs that just are white.
It's
guys,
an excuse.
Okay?
It's an excuse.
Yeah, it's an excuse. So. He doesn't. It doesn't matter where he was. He would have at least a little bit of olive complexion, whether he was in the Pacific Northwest in the winter or up here, wherever. I think he would have kept at least somewhat of the olive complexion. He's not just going to turn pasty white, which a lot of these suspects are just pasty white guys.
They are, yeah. Kenny Christensen or whatever.
Yeah, there's no ethnicity to them. They're just kind of pasty.
Here's a line from Randy from Skip Hall's son John. He said. Dad said that he didn't pay to jump. He got paid to jump. And one thing I was going to mention about Skip is that what's interesting about Cooper is, if it's not Skip, chances are, I mean, like I said the other day, Skip Hall might have a 0.5% chance of being Cooper, but that is extraordinarily high when you consider Cooper could have been millions of people, right? I mean,
sure.
Whatever, and really, there's nothing connecting him to Cooper. But again, people say, well, there's nothing connects this guy to the hijacking. Well, if somebody was connected to the hijacking, that guy's probably DB Cooper. So nothing connects anybody to the skyjacking. If people are saying, did Skip Hall have olive skin? Of course he did. I mean, should I show that picture again? I mean, the guy passed as a Cuban.
Yeah, he's the best quasi Latin Hispanic looking dude we got, right? Because he meets the rest of the physicals, right?
What I was going to say about the parachuting though, is that the parachuting thing is that we want somebody who, you don't want a skydiver, because like the skydivers all brought their own parachutes. They don't trust anybody's parachute but their own. We know that from the copycat skydivers. We don't want a skydiver per se, okay? Because they would have done things differently, we think, and we don't want a static line jumper, like who just was purely military, because free falling from 10,000 feet is way different than static line jumping at 1,000 feet in the military.
But I will say that Cooper could have simulated a static line jump from the Boeing 727. Like Mark says, you could have just pulled right off the stairs, and that's exactly like a static line jump.
Yeah, you're just free falling for a longer amount of time. But the thing is we want with Cooper somebody who wasn't a military parachutist, but also wasn't a skydiver, some kind of quasi thing. And you've got that with Skip Hall, because when he was with Interpin, those CIA goons who were harassing, they were jumping into Cuba and blowing things up. These guys, like, they weren't skydivers, but they weren't military. Like, they were free fall. Like, to join Interpin, you had to prove that you had 5 free fall jumps. Okay. So like, we do know Skip Hall knew how to pack a parachute, because they said that they were out front in Key West or whatever. The neighbor was like, yeah, they were always out there packing parachutes. So he knew what a packing was.
I mean, he was around a paramilitary unit. So again, it's enough to pick up enough what Cooper needed to know.
Yeah. And like, he's good. So anyway, but that's what we got. So on Skip Hall,
so I'll throw in one more thing, because I haven't mentioned the tie with any of the other suspects, because I don't think they even get far enough down the line that we have to, like, okay, the tie particles. Skip, obviously we know kind of where he was during some of the tie era, which would be 64 to 71. Mm-hmm. We actually got a picture of him, I think in 67, 68, right? And he's wearing a Towncraft clip-on tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also, he noticed, and good job on Pack, he's done great research, noticed a pin that's from, I forgot, Pack, maybe you can write it in the chat, where that pin was from.
Yeah, Packer, forgive me. I don't remember if you've.
Yeah, but there's a tie pin on that. There's a tie pin on that tie. Obviously, that tie, even though even though that tie was the same make and model as I don't think I've seen that one, but there's another one. But yeah, I think this one he's confirmed. I mean, that's a tie. JC. That's a JC.
It's the main picture that he always uses of Skip. This one is. I mean, it does have the exact.
That one has a tie pin on it too, right?
It does, yeah, right there, yeah.
Yep. That one's got a tie pin on it too. But I believe that one also has an NAA Atomics International pin on it.
Oh, that's right.
On that, yeah. So on that one, if you go more down, there was NAA Atomics International right there. So there was no impression on the DB Cooper tie where that pin would have been. So we know that clip-on tie wasn't the one left on flight 305.
You're right, exactly that one right there. But
but he had a clip-on tie in 67, 68. That
you can see his skin tone more here as well. I mean, that's an olive person. Yeah, I mean that's not that's not questionable on him. Yeah.
We know he owned a J.C. Penney Towncraft clip-on tie 67, 68, but not that one. So then he's got
Packer says, a North American Aviation Atomics International. That's it.
Yeah. So he's got to come up with a new. So if he has, I guess I don't know why he would use a different tie, not remove the tie pins or whatever. But he's got to come up. He's got to come up with a different tie in 71, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess tying the tie to Skip's workplace. There are a couple things, but again, he's working at Hawthorne for Northrop Grumman. I mean, we haven't found anything on the tie that are commercial aerospace alloys. So for none of that to be on the tie, and it's all R&D experimental stuff. I know Pax says he's figured some reasons how Skip would have acquired the tie, but that's what he needs to do. He's going to need, and he has no reason to be working with this stuff. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of particles on the tie knot itself, indicating that whoever owned this tie was touching the stuff, working with this stuff. Right. So what does Skip have any business doing working with, all of these rare elements, pure titanium, uranium, all this kind of stuff. So, and I think Packers agree, because I think Packers leaning towards he picked up the tie at work or someone. So maybe, he would have to grab the tie from, again, I don't think Hawthorne fits the environment. My metallurgist doesn't think so. So how that, the tie doesn't really fit there. Again, it's not an end all be all. Again, so there could be somehow, some way. But yeah, I'm only bringing it up with Skip because I think he is a higher tier suspect, but I don't really have him explaining the tie particles from what I've seen. I guess there is a way, but I think that just reduces his chances because he just doesn't have that direct connection. Or his brother wasn't. I mean, his brother wasn't like a Vordahl, or his brother wasn't like a metallurgist or working at somewhere like the Albany Bureau mines or any of these few kind of places where you're getting all this kind of crazy shit.
Well, I remember I was getting some shit from Flyjack on the DZ this week about Skip Hall is your top suspect in the Matrix. He must your Matrix must suck. But I'm like, I'll just read my Matrix off here. I mean, and Skip, I can't help it. I'm sorry, Flyjack, that Skip Hall scored the highest. I'm not trying to fix it. I mean, I've got opportunity. Skip Hall, was unemployed at the time. Height 5'10" to 6 foot tall. Score. Complexion. Score. 40 to 50. Score. Smoker. Score. Drinker. Score. Parachute training. Score. Pilot. Score. Aviation history. Score. Neutral accent. Score. Boeing or 727 knowledge. Score. Criminal history. Score. New Pacific Northwest. Score. New McCoy Air Force Base. Score. Demolition. Score. I mean, the only thing that he does not get bonus points for is tie particles. I mean, and again, I don't dock anybody for tie particles because we just don't know if where the tie came from. But you'll get bonus points if you can explain the tie particles on my Matrix. But
and these are all just things that make sense to you, right? And not that none of them we don't some of these things we don't know for sure. We don't.
Yeah, we don't know if a pilot or we don't know.
We don't know if he's pilot. We don't There's some things that just. Parachute, we don't know. He's doing something that was going to require him using a parachute.
So I didn't know this. The Packer says that when they lost their motel, they lost all their clothes. So it says the guys that Packer found out that the guys at NAA donated to him old clothes, including old dress clothes. So maybe you that's a good find there, Packer. Okay, but I mean, but again, would NAA have plutonium? What was it? Plutonium or uranium? I get mixed up on the tie now.
Yeah. Again,
uranium or plutonium?
I don't. That's not real. You know, I'll ask my Millers about that, but that's not one of the places like on our radar now. That's,
drug dealer, check. Skip Hall. Yeah, no, he was the original Walter White for sure. Okay, so Randy says NAA did have nuclear reactors in their plants. Okay, I didn't know that.
They have nuclear reactors, but.
So yeah, but like I agree with you. You said if the tie was DB Cooper's, if it was his that he bought originally, we know that from the, like you said, the tie knot indicates the guy who Cooper touched things on his fingers. So
yeah. So we need an alternate, like you need there's going to be a couple degrees there of separation, and you just getting this tie, and it just makes its probability lower. Not saying it's not possible, it just makes its probability lower. So like maybe like he would have again got a donated tie from, you know.
Yeah, Packer says that they had 2 thorium reactors in Ventura from 64 to 71. So yeah, I mean if it was a donated tie, then you know. Okay, we'll move on. All right, enough about Skip. So let's see. So I defended Skip, so I'll attack. I'm going to attack. Okay, Wolfie. All right.
Wolfgang.
All right. Should I play that clip? What if I can?
The ghost.
I don't know if I can fast forward. I wish I could fast forward that clip of Wolfie when he starts talking. I'm just going to play that.
I wouldn't. Recently, I met a parapsychologist whose name was Wolfgang Gossett. He told me that there were
living on this temporal plane, disincarnate entities that once belonged to people living on this temporal plane. And at the time of death, for whatever reason, they elected to remain on this plane, and they have elected not to go over to the other side.
Wolfgang Gossett from Salt Lake City, Utah, is retired from the Army, a college graduate, and now leads an outwardly quiet life. But it is a life that has become entwined in the world of parapsychology. At the age of 7, he knew he had unusual psychic abilities. And through the course of development and study, Wolfgang has become an expert in the area of the world beyond. He has been called on countless times to perform exorcisms for places like this house in the Salt Lake Valley. The family here asked not to be identified.
I had just gone to bed, just barely laid down. I was on a midnight shift, so I had gone to bed early. I was facing away from the door. I heard this real deep voice.
He came to their home and conducted parapsychological tests. He discovered that the home was inhabited by 2 ghosts. Angry ghost visit, the gruff old ghost followed him home.
And he was very upset that I would have the day.
And according to Wolfgang, there is. He will pray.
Sorry, I was jumping around there, but I need to get a better Wolfgang clip than that. But yeah, that's Gossett, who became an exorcist. He became a priest to do exorcisms. So odd character, but okay. So I'm attacking Wolfgang Gossett. So let me pull up a picture of Wolfie here. Where is Wolfie? Oh crap! I knew I would forget somebody. I do not have Wolfgang Gossett. Okay, let me pull up Wolfie for everybody to see. Everybody knows what Wolfie looks like, but we'll let me pull him up anyway. Okay. Here he goes. Okay. So Gossett is good. I mean, so I'll attack Wolfie. Okay, so the guy has no eyebrows. Okay, so I think that the main reason people really like Wolfgang Gossett when they look at him is his hair. Okay, his hair is identical to the drawn hair of Comp B. So, like, I think that when people look at Comp B, they go, "Oh, well, that's Gossett, right?" I mean, look at the hair; it's the same hair, right?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Will and J. Smith, right? The hair part right
hair
there,
is really,
it strikes you. It strikes you right there, and then
the hair is striking.
You don't really look into the further details of the face because it's just the hair just automatically just like whoa.
Yeah, and here I'll show that. Yeah, if you take away the hair, it's not at all. Right?
He doesn't have enough eyebrows. I mean, he's
no eyebrows. His nose is wide. Yeah, his nose is too wide, too broad to be Cooper. I don't see any pouty lower lip at all on Wolfgang Gossett. Now, the eyebrows especially. I mean, obviously Cooper had eyebrows, I guess, and that people noticed it. But no, Gossett, to attack Gossett is to say that the guy was a paranormal radio host, which means the guy was full of shit all the time, like constantly. I mean, he was a habitual line stepper. He was a habitual bullshitter. Okay, that is what he did for literally the guy's job for a while was to bullshit people. And he has no criminal history at all. Okay, he became a lawyer, so he passed the bar and was licensed, which means he had no criminal history before becoming a lawyer, of course, to be admitted to the bar. So no evidence of any criminality. I don't like that nose. You can see that nose is wide at all. It's just too big, too wide to be nose. The nose is wrong. I think it's another picture of him. I think this is, let me pull up another picture of Wolfie. Oops. There, another picture of him. Just his lips are very thin. I mean, like he just got little kind of bird lips. And there's just, like I said, there's no criminality with Wolfgang. And I want to say, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I feel like I really need to, I need to re-listen to the Vortex episode, because the problem is Galen Cook never wrote his book on Gossett. So like we are lacking Gossety things. We should have more. Really, what we have on Gossett is a few things.
Maybe
Galen said.
That's probably why Galen
stopped the book.
Didn't write his book. He didn't have enough.
He gave up. He's an honest researcher.
He didn't have enough juice. He's a lawyer. I mean, he's smart enough. He's can't write a book about this. It's just going to be some speculation on circumstantial evidence, and he just didn't have enough. He's like, I don't think he unless he had enough, he wasn't going to put a book out. I think he liked Gossett off the bat, and you know, he did a great job of, you know, I think he did a really good job of trying to figure, trying to find enough to make a book. And I don't think he could. And Galen, you know, he's a lawyer. He had great connections, and all of that. If Galen wasn't able to make it happen, then that's a good point. I just don't think there was enough meat on the bone, and Galen knew it. And
don't forget, you have to defend him. Yeah, but somebody's saying, somebody says that's exactly why Galen didn't write his book. Yeah, he's an honest guy and said, okay, I can't. He got deep into it and said, because there's just nothing really there. Like Larry Carr, I think Larry Carr might have been the agent when Gossett showed up, I think. And he was like, there's just nothing there. Like, I mean, it is a story that somebody told their son. And it's intriguing because he's like, oh, there's a mysterious lockbox. What's like, well, why haven't we ever heard about what was in this lockbox? This is a good point, Rye. Rye says, yeah, but then look at Rekka. They got a book and a movie. Book? You mean books? There are 3 books on Rekka. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not respected. I mean, come on.
No.
You know, Galen didn't want to end up like what's the linguistic guy's name? He took
which one?
He's
Vern Jones.
Vern Jones and the linguistic guy.
Carl Lauren.
No, not Lauren. Was it the linguistic specialist or whatever that listened to his tapes, and he's like, oh yes, he had to have been telling the truth.
No, somebody's saying 3 books. Yeah, there are 3 books on Rekka. I think, hell, maybe 4 even. I think there's Carl Lauren's got one. There's the Vern Jones one. I know that Lisa Story's got one. And then there's another one coming out.
No offense. I mean, especially to Lisa. I mean,
yeah, she's great.
Yeah, Lisa's great. You know, she believes, she wants.
She's a true believer. And it's just like, she's a true believer. But again, you cannot, like, there are some things that you just cannot get past. And you cannot say that plane was anywhere near Cle Elum. Like, I mean, you may as well say they were flying next to the moon. I mean, it's preposterous.
You gotta have some cutoffs here that's just like, this doesn't like, there's things that doesn't make that. There's no way you can be Cooper because of this.
And it's sad because like, it's like talking about Rekka. We can talk about Rekka a little bit. I guess I didn't include Rekka in here, so, but like, yeah, Rekka's full confession is like, it would not be admissible in court because the guy leads him the whole time. And then you did this. Yeah, I did that. Like you can't say that in court. That's leading the witness. You just in court. You have to let them talk. But like, Rekka was going to jump out the side door. And didn't. I wonder if I can bring that clip up. Do I have this? I wonder if I have in my videos the video that I made of where is it? Do I have okay, I gotta try to find this. Bear with me, people. I wonder how many people have seen my video where I make fun of Rekka. It's only a minute long, so maybe I can. Oh man. Okay. Maybe I can come up with it real quick. Where is I'll try and find that real quick. See if I can, because it's great.
Or Rekka recess.
Yeah, Rekka. We're taking a Rekka recess because I gotta find my my little video here where I made fun
The
of
worst
Rekka.
suspect we can avoid talking about.
Yeah, well, you can never get away from Rekka. I mean, he's too much fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
Do I not really?
need.
Do I not have that?
I don't have a problem with Rekka or like a couple of these suspects that just whatever it grabs people's attention. It gets eyeballs on the case, and I don't really it's all good. I think it doesn't. I don't think it does much harm to the case. Because anyone that puts a little time in, they'll realize it's not Rekka, but it might get them interested in the case, and they might have something to offer. So I mean, it's all good to me.
Yeah, I guess it's not. It's almost. I don't know. I don't think it's as pernicious as like the McCoy stuff. Like the Rekka people, I don't know.
Yeah, they're not putting parachutes in an old old barn or Rekka's, right, or his family's barn, or
right,
right. They haven't gone to that degree,
Mm-mm.
They're just working with what they got, and they're presenting it to us in a certain way, and had some people weigh in on his tapes and what have you. But yeah, and the Jeff Losadic stuff. I mean, that's I don't think that guy's lying. I think he probably saw Rekka at that truck stop at some point, and like I said, I like what you came up with. That they picked up. Rekka was up to something or whatever, was stranded doing something. He got picked up, and all that I can see. But it's
like I can see Rekka doing something and showing up there and like saying, "My God, I bet those people thought I was DB Cooper because that happened the same night as Cooper, and I was wearing a suit," or
that's how it all started, right? There's got to be something that sparked that flame, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's dadgum.
It would be too random to connect Rekka to that. So I think there might have been something. He might have just been part of an old tale that was circulating around the truck stop cafe.
Well, then you go ahead and you go ahead and defend Gossett. Let's do that.
All right, so Gossett, I have to defend him. Let's see. I like his voice. I think he's got a great Cooper voice. He speaks intelligently, all of that, which is described in the FBI files. I think he kind of has that lower tone, like he has a nice, relaxing tone. He seems pleasant. Like I can see him. I can at least see his personality fitting with DB Cooper. Just by the few videos we got from him. I would say the most compelling piece of evidence I've found from on Wolfie is probably from Greg, who he admits that that Gossett's second or his last wife, stepmom, was no nonsense. He would get on Gossett because he was a constant bullshitter. He'd spin yarn, start telling stories, and his wife then would step in and be like, stop telling this bullshit, whatever, right?
Right.
He said that he told him that she took her to Tina Bar. They were there, right? And Greg, again, I got, it's the opposite from Joe, right? Like Greg's got really like you've had to come to him to get him to talk about about him. Like he's not someone that, oh yeah, I want attention from this.
Right.
Like he's completely opposite. Like you gotta go hunt him down and you find. I mean, he did call in to the. I think that's how it all started, right? He called into the
Coast to Coast
AM, right? But I think Galen. I think Galen started without even talking to Greg. Like Galen.
On
his own right. It wasn't
Galen was on Coast to Coast.
Yeah,
Galen was a guest on Coast to Coast. Yeah,
right.
And
so
Gossett's son heard it. Yeah,
it was nothing that Greg started at all. Like someone else started this, and he's like, "Well, yeah, he did. He told me this." It's like that. That's interesting to me. It's like someone thought. Someone thought someone was DB Cooper, and then it comes out that, oh yeah, he told me he was DB. He confessed to me that he was DB Cooper, right? But I guess the confession was already out there, right? So Galen already knew about the confession. I don't know exactly the timeline on that. If he already put that out there, or Galen already got on him before that. But if it's the other way around, then I think that's interesting. But the fact that Galen's the fact that Wolfie's second wife, he took her down to Tina Bar and was like, hey, he pointed out
allegedly.
Like, yeah, allegedly, but that's, I mean,
did she say that?
Yeah. So so the second wife, and that's coming from Greg, right? So I don't think Greg has any reason to lie about this.
No.
And from how you described her, she had no reason.
I mean, it makes sense that he would take her to Tina Bar. I mean, obviously Gossett wanted people to think he was DB Cooper. Like,
yeah, but this was before the money was found on Tina Bar.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So maybe her memory, probably her memory was mixed up. He took her after, right? That's that's kind of what I lean towards, that he took her after and her memory's mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
But if he took her before and he pointed out, and if he took her to Tina Bar and pointed out that, some of DB Cooper's money, like we said, some of DB Cooper's money is going to be found here. That was part of the testimony. Some of DB Cooper's money was going to be found here, right? So that obviously it hadn't been found yet. So
if that's true, then that would be something. But
it's coming from it's coming from credibility.
And hey, if you're defending Gossett, let's not forget. I mean, he does have something weird with his neck.
Yeah, he's like one of the best gobblers. So we haven't mentioned the turkey gobbler, the turkey gobble, but he's a galloping gobbler. He definitely has that thing right there, right? Yeah. And it's distinctive in appearance.
Distinctive enough. It's distinctive enough for Bill to remember it.
Yeah, I think he's got the most distinctive skin thing out of any of the POIs.
Yeah, I think Skip Hall had a little bit there. You can see, but that's not crazy. But that's enough. But that's not like Gossett though. Gossett's clearly got something going on.
Because it's like, that's like more of like you put that to like a turkey thing, and it's like,
because Bill always does the motion like this. Bill, if you've seen Bill always does this thing like this, like he always does this.
Well, it's like it's a little bit more fat. Like Vordahl has that too. Like he's got a little bit more fat right here, like in in his DuPont thing. But Wolfie's got like just that real loose skin.
Yeah, the real turkey, like
the real turkey. He was. I think he's only like he was in the he was in the Army, Navy, and Marines.
And Marines. Yeah.
So he's like, So
no. Air Force, Army, Air Force, Marines. Yeah, not Navy.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll point out his survival skills. He would get dropped off. Like, here, you just throw me into I want to go over here and do whatever, backpacking or whatever. So it would have been easy for him to like go on a backpacking trip or whatever, near PDX and use that as an excuse. And if he landed more, here's the thing, it's still in debate where Cooper landed, right? Is the FBI drop zone or we're more South Orchards, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If you landed more in the, I know you've been wavering. If you landed more in the FBI drop zone, which is, Oriole, Amboy, Heisen,
he's a good suspect for that.
He can get his ass out of there. He would have no problem doing that, right?
He was a survivalist,
He's a survivalist. He would have had no problem. I don't think he would have a problem doing that. if he landed there. That's where I think his survivalist background, if he landed in the FBI drop zone, would have served him well for getting out of there. Because here's the thing: if Cooper died in the FBI drop zone, they're finding him.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
If he lived in the FBI drop zone, then he's got to have some kind of skills to get out of there without being caught. Honestly, and it's a challenge. Like, here's the thing about everyone ragged on the History Channel thing, but I think they did show it's if you do land where they went to a little bit more ruggeder area. But I've driven through the FBI drop zone multiple times, and it's you got plenty of forested area. It's tough to get through there, especially walking. But walking, you're going to have a tough time. Like, either you're going to have to walk on the road, and these roads are small, and there's barely any divide between the road and then the terrain, and like your little sliver. And if a car's coming, you're either going to be seen and noticed, or you're going to have to jump into some crazy ass prickly stuff.
Yeah.
Carrying, I don't know if you left the money, took the money, that would have made things easier. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough sledging through there.
Gossett would have been good at that.
Gossett would have been good at that. Is basically
somebody's saying, wouldn't it be vortexy if none of these suspects are DB and the real Cooper turns out to be someone completely unknown altogether? That's not vortexy. That's almost certainly true, in my opinion.
Those are the odds.
The odds are the field. The Vegas odds would say 99% at the field. I mean, it's obviously. Yes. So Randy says, did you use Gossett's turkey neck for your sketch reconstruction? Actually, no. For my sketch reconstruction that I did for fun, I went and looked up there's an actual operation that men have to get rid of that little thing there. And so I went and typed that in like before and afters, and I found one that I thought looked good. And that's what I used for my sketch. But I've got here's the Rekka thing for people who haven't seen it. Yeah. That was a video I made. But it's great.
Man.
Is that Spanish? I don't speak. Is that Spanish? I mean, Spanish.
That's Spanish right there, dude. That's like Richard Hanneman right there. Frederick Hanneman right there. Clowning with his no teeth, right? No, it's
Hanneman. Oh God, I mean Hanneman. Yeah, my teeth. Oh, but no, it's okay. So all right. They're hidden. All right. Next. Okay. So we gotta hurry this up. We got 2.5 hours. Okay. All right. So let's see. You defended. Okay. So you have to attack. Barb Dayton.
Attack Barb. Well, Barb was short, right? 5'8".
Yeah.
5'9". No ethnicity, no swarthiness right there. It looks
blonde hair,
very white. Yeah. So Barb's gonna have to be the absolute master at disguise. She would have gotten with CIA's finest, with some Hollywood, with some Hollywood makeup and an artist, hair artist or whatever, makeup artist to get him there. You just. Physically doesn't get there. Love Barb, love her store and everything like that. But yeah, I think I don't think I got much farther than the physicals on Barb. I mean, she would have to, I know she had gender reassignment surgery, but they would have to make her complete. She would have to be made a completely different person to be DB Cooper. It's just. Yeah, I think physicality is really what I'll stress here on Barb, that why she can't be DB Cooper, because I think a lot of the other stuff surrounding Barb is actually pretty good.
Don't forget the DZ.
The what?
Drop zone for Barb. So don't forget the DZ for Barb.
Oh yeah, and the drop zone's far out there, right? It's
what is that? Woodburn, Oregon.
Woodburn, Oregon. Yeah, it's not it's not as off as Cleellum, so we're
it's on the flight path at least. We'll say that.
Yeah. So but Barb is so weird. I don't find that
sideburns too.
Yeah, physically she just doesn't get there. So anything else really, it's even if she's saying a different draw. So I'm like, whatever. It doesn't really even matter because she just can't pass the physical test.
Yeah, okay, we'll move fast. Barb is. I'll defend. I mean, to defend Barb. Okay. Shit. Okay. Barb had a death wish, I guess. Barb was very, very reckless as a pilot and as a skydiver. Apparently, was a real daredevil. Barb had a mean streak. Barb was rough and tumble, and apparently a lot of the things that Barb liked to tell tall tales about what she did in World War II, but and even in Vietnam, like as a mercenary or something. But it turns out that stuff was true. Like I said, I'll say this one thing about the foremans: they're not liars. Okay, they're not exaggerators. They are like salt of the earth types. They're not going to lie or exaggerate about Barb. And they verified and they showed it that they verified that. I mean, Barb was a prisoner of war briefly in World War II in the Pacific. Like Barb was in Vietnam in 62 or 63 as a mercenary or something. I mean, these were real things. So Barb was a badass as a man, I guess. So Barb could have done this perhaps. Well, I say the best way to defend Barb is to say that Barb had, that was a bad turn of phrase. I was gonna say Barb had balls, but I mean, Barb had gumption or Barb was courageous. Yeah. Barb had personal bravery. How about that? I'll say that. Yeah. To be gender neutral, Barb had personal bravery. But okay, we'll skip over Barb. All right. Let's see. So I have to attack. Oh, this is pretty funny. Bob Rackstraw. Okay, so and you can tell I think we got a few thousand people.
Want to do Uno reversal on this one?
Yes, we'll do a reversal. Yes, I'll put my Uno card. Since you knew him personally, I will let you attack Rackstraw and tell people. Again, this is going to be seen and heard by several thousand people who are new to the case. Tell people your personal experience with Bob Rackstraw.
Yes,
I mean that is why you're sitting here, right?
That's what brought me into the vortex. I'm one of the few people that actually personally knew DB Cooper POI, and that was Robert W. Rackstraw. I met him in the. It would have been 6 months, around 6 months prior to when the History Channel documentary came out. And I believe that was in 2016. Yeah. So it was that winter, that fall winter time. And I was doing cannabis sales in a little office building right next to, really Robert's office was right next door. And I would go down for smoke breaks and stuff like that. And Rackstraw's smoker, and he'd be down there, and we struck up conversations, and he started telling me about his military past and in Vietnam, and telling me all these crazy stories. So you can just imagine me as just like a young, impressionable guy, and hearing from someone like Rackstraw, he was a larger than life character. His personality was big. Like, I'm sure his personality was huge. Like there's no denying it. Like you spend a couple minutes around and you're like, this guy is he's a character. Like he is a person. Like you don't run it. I've ran Rackstraw. I've never met anyone like Robert Rackstraw. To be honest with you, and I've met some some older interesting guys, but Rackstraw takes the cake there. And just innocently enough, this is just the guy in smoke breaks that was telling me all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, cool. I was intrigued by it, and it was like, yeah, it was awesome. And I made a client out of him. He was going through some. He's getting ready to go through some chemo treatment for cancer at the time.
I didn't know that.
And,
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he was going through all of that, and I was like, yeah, cool guy.
Time out, Nicky. Somebody's asking in the chat, did you sell Rackstraw an indica, sativa, or a hybrid strain? What was his brand?
He's a sativa guy, so he didn't like indica, which would like make him more sleep. Like he wanted, he liked upper weeds. So his favorite strain was actually the one he liked getting from us the most was Maui Wowie, which is just a straight sativa, and it kept him because he was still doing work for his business and a couple things he had going on. So I think he'd like to stay active and stuff like that. So he was definitely a sativa guy. About 6 months later, that History Channel documentary came out, and I was like, whoa, what in the hell is going on here?
And you didn't, so like you were just watching TV one day and there he was?
And there he was. Yeah. History Channel, because I would watch religiously, like American Pickers and Pawn Stars. So like, this like history was like coming up, like they were like doing new content. Like it wasn't just the old, like, history of this stuff. Like they were putting like new like stuff out there with Pickers and Pawn Stars.
So wait a second. I know you had some interaction with Colbert. That must have been after the documentary, or?
Yeah, that was after the doc. Yeah. So after I saw the doc, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then I started, I wasn't on any of the forums. I didn't know this whole thing online was existing about people sleuthing out DB Cooper or anything like that. Like I knew it, like I was fascinated back when I saw it on Unsolved Mysteries. And it was just like, cause I was always into like true crime and Unsolved Mysteries. Cause my parents always had like 2020 on or Unsolved Mysteries on or Dateline. And just kind of, being around it, like just having that on the TV, I just kind of gravitated. Like I just took an interest of it. So I was like into like some mysteries and cases and stuff like that. But I wasn't like following any cases or anything like that online. I didn't even know like that kind of thing was going on. And then when the Cooper stuff came out, I was like, oh man. So I just started Googling, right? And there's a Drop Zone DB Cooper forum. Like there's all this info. And I had no, like, again, the only thing I had was pretty much the Unsolved Mysteries thing, which I thought was, as a kid, just like completely like just made me fascinated. And then I remember when the Marla stuff came out, it was like caught a little bit of Fox News and like I read a little bit on that. But then the Rackstraw, I'm like, but it was like, so like, but because it's DB Cooper and that, like, I was so enthralled by it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get online. I'm like, dude, this has got to be Rackstraw, right? Because it's like,
right, of course.
I had nothing. Like I had no research in the case, like just Unsolved Mysteries and, a little bit of Leonard Nimoy, like whatever the things I watched. So I'm like, Rackstraw. I'm like, this has got to be him. Like everything seems so.
And it's so much cooler because you know him. So it's like, it's got to be him. You want it to be him.
Right,
I wanted it to be him.
Yeah, well, I really wanted it to be him because I'm like, oh, well, damn. And then I was like, I'm like, well, and then it went from wanting it to be him where it's like, well, they haven't really proved it was him yet. So I can be a part of that, right? I can be a part of solving the DB Cooper case. And I thought it was just like, kind of like naive, like when Larry Carr got into this, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, I think it's McCoy and I'm just gonna prove it's McCoy and that's gonna be the end of it. I'm just like, well, yeah, it's got to be Rackstraw. I'm gonna help prove it's Rackstraw. And then, I'll get a little kudos and this whole thing will be all great. Right. Mm-hmm. But then I started looking into the case. I'm just like, well, wait a minute. This is not adding up to what I know of Robert Rackstraw. Well, the age and all that stuff was like really apparent at first, but then it's like his behavior. It's like, no, like I have actually witnessed Rackstraw interacting with females and other people, and that is just not congruent with how DB Cooper acted on Flight 305. Right, he was a perfect gentleman. Rackstraw, he was not a gentleman. Like he was a womanizer. He was a big flirt. He always had something funny to say. Like he couldn't help himself at all. Like making a crack or like doing, and that just doesn't fit with Cooper.
Well, let's not forget this photograph here, right? I mean, this is a month before the hijacking. There is no world where this guy is going to be called homely by women, right? I mean,
yeah.
And this guy is not going to be called in his 50s by Flo Schaffner.
No way. No way. I'm speaking more on his personality, just because
Right.
his physicals is just so apparent. Like
he's way too young.
It's once I came to realize that, I'm just like, no way. But again, I didn't know.
He was a large guy. He was a large guy too, wasn't he? I mean, he was a big fella.
He was built like he was still like even when he's
muscular.
Yes, muscular guy. Like he's got muscles on. Cooper, no muscles. Okay, he's not a muscular dude.
Alice Hancock used the phrase. She did not feel he was athletically inclined. Is what Alice Hancock says. So, I mean, that's a line.
And you look at him. You look at him
too.
Yeah. Now that doesn't mean like he wasn't. He didn't keep active, because I think at that age, like, you had to be active. But
sure,
was he like
the FBI felt he was active enough to jump out of a plane at that age. So. He wasn't like a schleb, but he wasn't like built.
He wasn't schleb, but he wasn't built. Like, he didn't have any built. Like, you can just see Rackstraw's shoulders right there, and they're just
right. He's broad.
And that's his physical. Just like, there's no way Bill would have took it and looking at Robert Rackstraw, 1971, and said, I could have taken that. I could have ripped him out.
A month later. Yeah,
I could have ripped
him
out
after
of
this
his
photo.
Feet. Right.
I
didn't know any of this. I was completely oblivious at the time. I'm just going off of all the stuff that Colbert put in his thing, and But once
anybody who watches one DB Cooper documentary is going to be convinced that that's DB Cooper. Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
on my point of reference was only older DB Cooper documentaries that didn't really there's a bunch of misinformation there.
And funnily enough, if you watch my review of In Search Of, Rackstraw is mentioned in the very first DB Cooper documentary, very briefly. Like he got around, man.
Well, that's the only Colbert didn't pick him out of thin air. Like, I just found him independently because Dick Briggs said no.
Rackstraw was known.
Rackstraw was fingered by him. He's like, I think. This is who I'm going to make. This is who I'm going to make DB Cooper right here. He admitted to it, so it's going to be easier. And now this is who I'm going to make DB Cooper. And I'm going to reverse engineer a story behind it to try to sell it. And that's what I believe. I did deal with Colbert afterwards, and that's what I believe he was trying to do. So it wasn't an innocent thing like, I got this tip, and I'm following the Dick Briggs lead, and this is how I stumbled on it.
It was the opposite of what we did back with Vordahl, where we had evidence, or what we thought was evidence, and then he emerged from that evidence. He wasn't we didn't start out with him and then reverse it to fit him. Like, the evidence fit him. You may still think it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we found him through we looked at 200 different people or whatever, right? I mean, so it wasn't like we had a guy at first, Whereas he started out with a guy and then reversed it, and that's not how you play this game. You don't.
Yeah, it's my opinion that Rackstraw was picked, and he was, and then Colbert.
And let's not forget, about Rackstraw is that the real Cooper. The fact that Rackstraw was coy about it tells me you're not Cooper. Like, if you're being cute about it, well, I could have been Cooper, could have been, that means you're not. No one's going to be that way. No one is that way about capital crimes, man, or even not even capital crimes, but to go to prison for decades. No one jokes about that. No one's cute.
He was literally telling, it wasn't just to the media. He joked about it with people in Orange County, people here out in the SoCal community. He said that at mixers and stuff like that. He liked the attention. It was funny. You can read all his old tweets on Twitter or on X now. Airborne Bob. Yeah. Airborne Bob. It's funny. You can read his old tweets, and he was after Colbert went after him and all of that, then he was he's Trump. He's messaging Trump and messaging all. He's like, please help me fight Colbert. I totally got the wrong end of the stick. And I don't have any sympathy for Rackstraw because, dude, you put it out there.
You got to eat it.
You try to use it for your advantage, and now it came back in your face.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't like. I got no sympathy for you, Rack. And even though he started playing the victim role so good, but knowing him, I'm like, I had no ounce of sympathy. Even though completely Colbert totally fucking railroaded him, and that was total bullshit. But it's like, well, you kind of left yourself open for that. So,
I'll in the interest of time, I'll jump to I have to defend Rackstraw. So I'll say that he scores decently high on my matrix actually, because the thing about Rackstraw is like Rackstraw, like could have been a copycat hijacker. Like he fits them. Him and McCoy are actually very similar people. Like almost exactly the same. Like their career trajectories are very similar. Special forces guys who go into chopper pilots and then, come out and whatever, they're bored or whatever. But like, he has the complexion's not there, but like his age is wrong, but he's a smoker, drinker, parachute training, pilot, aviation history, accents neutral, demolition experience, criminal history, McCord, Pacific Northwest. He did, but again, I'm guessing the eyewitnesses probably saw his photograph at some point. I think they did actually. No, they did. In fact, I think there's an FE off. I think it says that. Yeah. So he wasn't, but I don't really want to defend him, but okay. So let's see. I'm on. All right. So that means I have to, my turn to attack somebody. Okay. It's easy for you. Milton Vordahl. So I'm going to attack Milton Vordahl. Okay. Well, my attack on Milton, even when I supported Milton, or put him out there, was that the age is a problem. 58's getting up there. The fact that some of the eyewitnesses pegged Cooper as being in his 30s. It's hard to get to 58 if you're in your 30s. That's just what I would think. I would say the lack of no parachute training at all that we know of. I would say his aviation experience as far as like piloting is not there. No criminal history. Physically, I guess, his lips really good. I guess I would just say that maybe the hair is getting a little thin for Cooper, for Milt, because I believe this photo was what, 1969, was it?
68, 69.
68,
right?
yeah, 68,
Around
69.
there, yeah.
It's his passport. Yeah, so little older, a little too old. I would just say mainly is I really, really think that we don't know if he was, I'm as far as him smoking, I don't know if he was smoking then, but I'm pretty sure we found that video where it looks like a cigarette is in front of him. So I think he did smoke at one point. But I would just say that like the attack on him was always parachute training, being comfortable around aircraft. He worked on aircraft, but practical aircraft stuff. But the age is the main thing. I just don't. His age always bothered me a bit, just because, like I said, the fact that we had witnesses saying that Cooper could have been in his 30s at all, it's a problem. All right, so you defend Milton Vordahl these days. Go ahead.
Yeah, if we're going to use the closest to the to the time reported, that would be Florence Schaffner, right? And that's in his 50s, right? So if we're going to use that, she's literally right down the aisle, very like that's the closest quickest estimate was by Flo in real time, and that was in his 50s. You had Wendina on here, and she said when she met Milton in his 70s, he looked about 10 years younger in his 60s. As far as, and I like the parachuting experience, anybody else, I'm going to have a problem with it. I think Milton Vordahl, if anyone's going to get a little bit of a pass on it, it's going to be Milt. His last two houses that he built, in Las Vegas and then in his last house in Pateros, he built those himself. He built both of those houses, and he had this is from his nephew. So I have recently been talking to his nephew back and forth within this last month. It took me a few years for me to get in touch with him. He's 81 years old now, so he knew Milton. Yeah, he knew Milton.
Is Oscar's kid?
Yeah, this is Oscar's kid. Who Oscar was a fighter pilot, right?
Mm-hmm. A bomber pilot. Yeah,
bomber pilot. Yes. He bombed a sub. He bombed a sub in World War II. The sub he bombed didn't even the bomb didn't even explode. It went right through the freaking ship.
Oh,
and that's how he that's how he ended up downing it. The bomb didn't even explode. And he was talking to his nephew. He was very close to Oscar. But he's the one that told me that he built 2 homes without any background or anything in construction. So I don't know about you or me, but
he was in Mensa, right? Didn't we learn that he was in Mensa recently? I think the genius. Yeah, he was a real genius.
Yeah, and some people said that he was a PhD. That is not correct.
No,
he did not get his PhD. He got his master's, and you can get up. He got up to I think what's under.
He has master's degree.
Yes, his master's, and then his nephew relayed to me that he asked him why he didn't get his PhD, and he said, I don't need it. He's like, I could teach the course and then some. All right. That's the confidence we're looking at in DB Cooper. That's the confidence he demonstrated.
Sure.
Right. So again, no experience in construction, and he built 2 houses. Okay. So he's got the confidence, he's got the arrogance to try it, right? Because I would, especially now, I don't know how much, it costs a lot of money to get all the stuff to build a house. And if you don't do it right, well, your house is either falling down or you're wasting your money on a bunch of supplies and stuff. So he was able to build 2 houses without any kind of knowledge or background in construction. Contact lenses, right? I can't imagine there being much information on how to make contact lenses in the late 60s, right? So I don't know where he'd be getting his information on. He'd be confident into making contact lenses, but he was able to do it. Like he wasn't intimidated by something that he wasn't really in his wheelhouse. Milton was always working on stuff, always inventing. That stuff that came from his nephew. And I think when you look at the tie, it's kind of a little bit of a head scratcher, because you look at what a clip-on tie is used for, right? Okay, going to church, maybe, security guard, truck driver, the things that clip-on ties are used for, it's not things that are going to get it this dirty or filth-laden or anything like that. We had the Boeing guy that gave Tom K his tie, and he never was washed, and he's like, you're going to find all this crap on it. Tom looked under his microscope, clean as a whistle, didn't find anything. Another snapper clip-on, same make model as Cooper, was sent to him. Looked at it, nothing on the tie. Now I'm confident that we can waste time sourcing. as many clip-on ties as we can, and we can send them all to Tom K. And I guarantee you, you're just going to find nothing on those goddamn things. Another thing that Vaughn told me was he did not like being promoted to upper management. He did not like being a paper pusher. That he did not like doing that, right?
Sure. He was hands-on. He
was a hands-on guy. So when we're looking at someone wearing a tie, like it doesn't really fit, like, a metallurgist or a guy in upper management in this place or that place. Well, they're not really, you don't think they're going to get their hands that dirty, right? They're not going to be putting their hands on. But we got Milt that, yes, he did have that position, but he didn't like it. And I'm sure he did everything he could to get on the floor and work on stuff, put his hands on stuff, make stuff, because that's all he did, right? That's what Vaughn said. We knew that he was a scientist, always working on stuff. And then when he went home, he didn't stop. He was still working on stuff. He made his garden was electric. He had an electric garden for his orchard. So he had electronics running through that stuff. He was powerly charging his plants. And
he's super smart.
Yeah. So he's got all that. Like, can you, like, as far as making a realistic bomb, and Cooper didn't have to really make that realistic of a bomb. He didn't really have to. He didn't have to. Like, he could have just put some batteries and wires, and that would have sufficed, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that Cooper went into detail and made a bomb that Tina Mucklow can describe the wiring back, and then demolition guys.
Remember, Vordahl has a patent for explosives. In World War II, he made the guy literally in World War II made a better. He did something that wasn't explosives. Really, it was sort of explosives, but he made a better cartridge. They actually used he made a cartridge for the M1 30-06, our main battle rifle in World War II. He made a cartridge for Remington that fed better into the rifle,
right?
And it produced. So I mean, he helped. He obviously helped on the Manhattan Project, and then that's where
I think he fits the tie better than anyone else, because who's got the background with the Manhattan Project and uranium? Like, he literally has an accommodation for there was a fuel swelling, and he helped solve that problem, and that was directly.
Yeah, but that was in 1944, though. So where would Vordahl have come across uranium in post 64?
Well, here's the thing: you don't get access to uranium unless you know how to work with that stuff. Like, unless you have a background in uranium, you're not getting let into freaking where uranium is at to work with it. It's like uranium is highly radioactive. It's kept in closed, tight facilities. You're not around that stuff unless you know what you're doing with it, in my opinion. But then you cross over to the titanium, right? We have confirmed titanium particles on the tie. We have an acyclic titanium bar, commercially pure titanium. We have the titanium birdbath particle. So who's crossing over from titanium to nuclear uranium, right? Vordahl crosses both of those paths, and in the R&D, right? None of this stuff we're finding, we're trying to look for patent stuff that makes it make sense. We can put it to one area, but it's like all this stuff it seems to be all R&D based, because it's all just a mixture of just random stuff, like just random stuff that's you really can only see. Like, it was ahead of its time from what I'm seeing, because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in the interest of time, I gotta speed up. I will answer a question. This guy Burgers says he just watched my reaction video. Do you think it's possible that Cooper thought that they would be looking for him around the landing zone, so he buried the money 10 miles away before fleeing? No, because Cooper did not know that they would know when he jumped. Cooper had no reason to know that they knew he was going to, where he was going to jump. So I don't think Cooper knew. I don't think Cooper really knew where he was when he jumped, but Cooper did not know that the pressure bump was going to happen. He assumed they never would have known when he was going to jump. So no, he would not have needed to bury the money at Tina Bar. And as I tell people, if Cooper was trying to throw the FBI off to think he died, he'd bury the money along the banks of the Lake Merwin. And they would think he went. I mean, because, what's his face? Manning, the agent in charge of the search, said that he thought Cooper went in he thought Cooper went in Lake Merwin and died.
That's all fun, but that would have been no fun, right?
Yeah, I guess if you're trying to mess with the FBI, but I don't know. Uncle Jim says, how do you improve the feeding of a bottleneck cartridge? I don't know. Look up his patent for Remington. It's there. I don't know what he did. Anyway, actually, Uncle Jim, I think it may have been something about it ejected the round better. It was able to eject the round better. I'm not sure how that worked, but something about that. Not feeding it, but maybe ejecting it. Okay, so we'll do one more. Okay, you have to attack. What do we have? Okay, you have to attack Ted Braden. Okay.
I gotta attack Teddy B. Dan. Okay.
Got to make Drew mad at you, man.
he's already blocked me. I don't know what I've done, because here's the thing. Here's the thing with me, man. I still even though my preferred POI is Milton Vordahl, I still, and anyone that I think is a serious suspect, I put in time into researching, and I got leads, and I do my thing, and I think if there's someone worthy of more scrutiny, I put time. I actually, okay, for the Braden guys, I actually have gotten somebody into Braden's trailer and looked at and was the trailer that was recently mentioned. I don't know the guy, but I found someone out. I found someone out in the area, and I was able to get someone in Braden's in that trailer, which is now just dormant. Like, no one's staying in there. Yeah, and there were a couple of weird things, like a weather. There was a weather thing for there was like a whole weather freaking calendar on there, and it was so weird. And just like different scrambling and ramblings on it. But that was the only thing that came up in there. Nothing else. But yeah, Braden. His height, obviously, I can't get him there. You got Tina. How tall was Tina again?
5'8".
5'8". So yeah,
that's Ted's height.
That's about Ted's height. So Tina saw him standing up. It's tough. I mean, you're gonna have to put some boots on there or something on Braden. His height is definitely, I think, the biggest issue. And then he did lower crimes and he got caught for it. So, right, he was doing some kind of truck scheme, right? And he was doing roast beef. He was swindling roast beefs and stuff like that. Got busted. So he's really going down the ranks as far as crimes go, and then he's getting caught. Besides the height and doing that, I know Braden's, from all accounts, Braden's got see the nose. From all accounts, so Braden's got an eye for fashion. He's pretty fashionably inclined. And Cooper, if you go by Bill Mitchell, he wasn't. You looked him up and down. He wasn't really fashionable, according to Bill, but he was a younger guy. And I don't know what you compare the fashions on back in that day, but wasn't really fashionable at all as far as his appearance. It's those kind of couple things there. But besides that, dude, Braden's. I mean, here's the thing. We've been looking for guys all these years that kind of fit the main things, right? Criminal background, criminal mentality, parachute experience, connection, knowing about the 727 that could be lowered and that it could be jumped, right? All of those kind of things, all right there for Teddy. And I think he's one of the best. Like, if you take all of the criteria that you think all apply to Cooper, I think Ted Braden, Skip Hall are the two guys that have come out of that using the the criteria that would think would make the most sense. Him and Skip come out.
They do score the highest on my matrix. I mean, just
they come out of there the best, and I think that's the best we got to show for what on paper looks like what
we're looking for,
what Cooper should have, right? Everything that Skip and Braden get the farthest as far as that go. So yeah.
Well, then that's kind of the defense, I guess, because I mean, like you said, really the things that you attacked are the two things that I would have. The height and the nose, I think, are just the problem.
And no connection. And I'll make the same thing about the tie particles with Braden, because I think he gets to where you have to start questioning, the tie with him. And yeah, I guess it'll be the same thing like with Skip. Like he's got to pick it up somehow. Because I don't think just his job as being a trucker. Again, he's got to have his hands on things, touching things, getting that on the tie knot. The two skill, yeah. Like I don't think I think Braden would have been a little bit more specific in his parachute requests, even by a little bit. Like I want him from here or something. Just his vague thing, and not saying make sure to have deep. Like Braden would have known, like if he's just asking willy nilly for parachutes without given any kind of guidance, that they might give him parachutes without D-rings. Like I think he knew enough about parachutes that there's a possibility he would have got parachutes without D-rings, given what he told them, because he doesn't know if they would have sourced parachutes from two different places, which is what they ended up doing, because the way with his demands was they could have sourced parachutes from two different places, and there you go, no D-rings. Front back shoots. Like there's no specificity. There are no specific things going on there. Yeah. Like, I just think I don't see Braden being that vague with the pair. Like I don't see him like asking for a PC or anything like that. But I think he would have had more knowledge about parachutes to not leave that fuck up to what ended up happening.
Yeah, Burgers is saying, so skydivers didn't know about pressure bumps back then? No, because no one jumped out of 727s. But the pressure bumps, Burgers, the pressure bump is only a thing when, it doesn't really show it in this video, but like pressure bump is only a thing when you jump off the stairs, and it doesn't, in that video, the stairs don't hit the fuselage. But in the Cooper jump, the stairs did hit the fuselage, okay? So a pressure bump is only created when you jump off the stairs of a plane in flight, and that had never been done before, as far as we know, before DB Cooper. So no, skydivers would not know that. In fact, McCoy didn't know that, and he was a skydiver.
And didn't know that either. The tests in Tequila, those had the stairs removed, so
it was a ramp.
They wouldn't know about the pressure bump, okay? So there was nothing for Cooper to know about the pressure bump.
Yeah. So to defend Braden, really, I will say what I've always said about Ted Braden, is that if you gave 100 people the facts of the Cooper case and you said, invent DB Cooper, 75 out of 100 would invent somebody similar to Ted Braden. Like he is the invention of what you want DB Cooper to be. A guy who fearless, a guy who will jump into anywhere at any time. This is a guy who jumped into North Vietnam. Okay. Like he jumped into an enemy country, like essentially alone, and walked out of there. Like he's the first person to ever plant a listening device in North Vietnam. And yes, Randy's got Randy, you stole that from me, Randy. But yes, I always said, I used to joke, I said, Braden would have been a copycat if he wasn't Cooper. Because like he'd have been like, oh, geez, I could do that tomorrow, and just gone and done it, So that actually is a good argument for Braden, is you say, well, he would have done it. But yeah, Braden, and the thing about Braden is like Braden is the only suspect who we know of, who's a named suspect, as far as I know, who would have known about 727s being used to egress things out of them. He's the only one that we can actually say almost certainly knew this. Even though it happened after he was in Vietnam, he was still engaged with the CIA people. I mean, and like Mike said, I had never thought about it, but he's right. The whole Ted Braden going to the Congo thing, that had to be a CIA mission. Like, that's just too, like, and then to not be punished at all for it. Come on. Like,
it's funny. Mike's guy is good catching on the with Lyle Cameron too. You brought up something. He's like, Lyle got called back into the military or something. And we're pretty sure that was, it's like, you don't get called back for that. It's like they did that for him to do CIA stuff. So
right.
Mike picked up on that too with Lyle. So it's yep. And I'll bet my life that that Lyle Cameron was CIA.
He was sketchy. Yeah, he had some sketchy.
No,
stuff
he was CIA. Yeah. There's no doubt.
Maybe. I mean, he was an asset of some sort.
Yeah, he was a CIA asset, 100%.
Burgers is saying, I wonder if Cooper thought it might be possible for someone on the flight crew to have witnessed him jumping at the moment of his departure. No, because that's why he made them close the curtain. He made Tina, the last thing he made Tina do was turn off the lights and close the curtain in between first class and coach. So nobody could have seen him jump. Okay. Now I know that the only copycat who they saw about to jump or jumping was Heinemann. Because in the FBI files for him, I believe one of the flight crew said that they saw him going backwards down the stairs. So they did see him on the stairs at least. That's the only copycat who was actually seen on the stairs, as far as I know, was Heinemann. He's Cooper,
he's Cooper, everyone. He let everyone see him.
Yeah.
He's Cooper, everyone. He didn't you're backtracking, right?
Yeah, Uncle Jim says, going back to the original sketch, why would they go so alien without some truth to it? Well, I mean, like I said, that's the only sketch that was drawn with them sitting there. So, like, if it didn't look like that, ish, then it wouldn't look like that. I mean, if they didn't want his nose to look like that, he would have drawn it. I mean, Roy Rose did not invent that little weird nose of Bing. Like, I mean, they told him, they said, draw this nose. He drew it, and they said, that looks close. So, like, it's silly. But didn't the pilots following the 727 see McNally jump? Yes. The chase planes, one of the chase planes saw a little black speck fall out of the back of the plane. So yes, that is, yeah. So, but no, Braden, though, Braden's also a guy, to defend him, who, if he had done it and they found out he did it, the CIA and the FBI do not get along, and they never have. And Ted Braden's only real friend was the man who created the CIA, Jack Singlaub, was his only real close friend of his life, because they had served together in World War II. So when your best friend is the head of the CIA or created the CIA, then you've got friends in very, very powerful. I wish my best friend was in charge of the CIA. It'd be great. You probably would feel invincible at that point. Because
he had to get out of jail. He probably had
free card. Yeah,
he probably had the best get out of jail free card that you can put in anyone's pocket that we've looked at.
Yeah, Uncle Jim says, yeah, they would definitely cover up Braden doing that. Sure, because again, he was a CIA asset, and they would not want a CIA asset being perp walked, and they knew that Braden had a loud mouth, because Braden literally exposed Mac Vesog to the world, a covert military operation. Just said, fuck it, I'm going to expose this in a magazine, and did. So he knew where the bodies were buried and wasn't afraid to talk about it. So, yeah, I mean, Braden was and like, that's not like, we're not saying like, oh, Braden was CIA. Like, he really was CIA. Like, that's not, he is listed. Like, I found something. Remember, I think I found something. I showed it to Drew. Like, there was I found something online that was a log of CIA agents that had been leaked somehow from like the 70s. And, Ted B. Braden's name is on there. I mean, the guy was still an asset in the 70s for the CIA. So, and again, we have him being seen in like Panama or Grenada in like the 80s when all that was going down. So, I mean, he was an asset. So now Braden, though, defending Braden is just, I mean, this was a real criminal. He was a legitimate criminal.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't know, like, would Braden be getting giddy? If he's a legit criminal, would he be getting giddy when he gets the money? Like,
remember, that's Larry Carr's interpretation of that statement by Flo. That he was acting childish, right? That's all it says is he acted childish. But if you read that statement, remember she felt he was acting immature by making her pick up the money bag. He wasn't going, yay, I got money. She just says he was acting childish when he said, basically he was making light of a scary situation, and she thought he was acting inappropriately. So yeah, maybe Braden would be
kind of acting like, oh, like it's like, whoa, like look at all this money, like, but it's still acting like someone that's never seen this kind of money before.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, look at all this money, right? So it's
it probably was more money than Braden had ever seen, though. So, but anyway, okay, look, we're going way over. So, thank you, Nikki. I'm gonna let everybody go to sleep. Thanks, Nikki, and okay, everybody, goodbye, and wave everybody. So, thank you, Nikki, and I'm signing off. Like and subscribe and all that YouTube-y stuff, and we'll talk to you guys again. Bye. Bye, Nikki. Thank you.